Chapter 282. Hee, this scene is really familiar. Amidst the surging heads of the allied army of the prince's mansion, a chuckle sounded. Zhou Pingyang stepped forward with an ancient sword on his back and a shocking sword intent. Beside Zhou Pingyang were Li Huanglong, Zhao Mingtian, Song Luoshu, and the other masters of the royal palaces. It's indeed familiar. I remember last time, you guys came with such a ferocious aura and fled in a sorry state. Wei Yuanzhou let out a hollow laugh. Wei Yuanzhou, I originally thought that the position of the ancient emperor would land on your head. I didn't expect you to be willing to submit to a brat who is still wet behind the ears. No wonder you have been trampled under the feet of the ancient emperor for so many years. Although Zhao Mingtian's words were directed at Wei Yuanzhou, he was sizing up Qin Yu. What is it? Are you disappointed that we didn't have an internal conflict as you expected? The grin on Wei Yuanzhou's face grew wider. Previously, the ancient emperor had tried to kill the 10 martial emperors as he knew he did not have long to live. Unfortunately, he had failed. Therefore, he and Wu Huangfeng had to lend Qin Yu a hand in this battle. Although Qin Yu had obtained the succession of the 3 martial emperors, granting him a shocking strength, his cultivation was still too weak. If Qin Yu were to be surrounded by the masters of the royal palaces, he would be in great danger. Shun Feng, a genius with a divine physique. Now that I've seen you today, you're indeed extraordinary. Zhou Pingyang had a light smile on his face. His gaze was also sizing up Qin Yu. Achieving the martial progenitor realm at such a young age. His talent was astonishing. If Qin Yu was given enough time, he would surely grow into a terrifying existence. At the very least, the 7 great martial realms were too small for Qin Yu. Since you're all here, I'll give you one last chance. Now, either you submit to me or die. Make your choice. Qin Yu said calmly. This extremely powerful army of over 6,000 martial ancestors did not give Qin Yu the slightest bit of pressure. In Qin Yu's past life, he had killed countless alien tribes in the extraterritorial battlefield. He had even witnessed many battles between the 10,000 martial emperors. In his eyes, this small number of people was completely insignificant. Ignorant kid, do you really think you can order us around just because you're the ancient emperor? Li Huanglong said with a sinister voice. An icy aura that froze the space around him. Then go to hell. Right after he finished saying those words, a vast amount of natural energy from the Summer Gate began to support Qin Yu. Qin Yu's figure. As the divine light flickered, an ancient spear covered with divine runes appeared in Qin Yu's hand. Ancient godly weapon, the spear. Heavens and earth force? Is that the inheritance of the 3 emperors' transformation? He actually obtained the War Emperor's supreme divine technique. This kid, Zhou Pingyang, Li Huanglong, Zhao Mingtian, and Song Luoshu were astounded. They were from the top 5 royal palaces, thus they were more familiar with the secrets of the ancient imperial palace. He was naturally able to recognize that what Qin Yu was using was the Battle Emperor's divine ability inheritance. Activate! Wei Yuanzhou, Wu Huangfeng, and the others immediately yelled. Among the 3,000 people, 2,000 each took out a formation flag and inserted it into the rift, while the remaining 1,000 stood guard outside. Buzz buzz buzz. As the formation flags were activated, countless runes filled the rift and formed a giant formation. With the Summer Gate as the center, the area within 20,000 li was encapsulated. What kind of formation is this? At that instant, the martial progenitors of the martial imperial palace could feel a great pressure descending upon them. They immediately became alert as an uneasy feeling rose in their hearts. Yin and Yang. Zhou Pingyang's eyes glistened as he observed the giant formation. The formation consisted of 1 white and 1 black, forming a combination of yin and yang. A mysterious aura was emitted from it. It was vast and chaotic, as if the heavens and earth had just been created. The martial progenitors of the ancient imperial palace were bathed in the glow of yin and yang, causing their auras to become mysterious. Be careful, this is a godly formation that has been lost since the ancient times, the yin and yang formation. It uses the heavens as the yang and the earth as the yin to gather the force of the heavens and earth, capable of slaying deities and eliminating demons. They even have such a godly formation that has been lost for a long time. The ancient imperial palace is indeed impressive. A faint voice transmitted into Zhou Pingyang's ears, who turned out to be the black-robed man of the Nine Ghosts Hall. The force of the heavens and earth? Zhou Pingyang wore a stern look. Although the force of the heavens and earth was different from the martial monarch realm, it was significantly stronger than the force of the martial progenitor realm. Initially, they had the upper hand as they had the advantage in terms of numbers. However, it would no longer be that easy to claim the ancient imperial palace. It's impossible for a martial progenitor to control the force of the heavens and earth. That kid is the core of the formation. The black-robed man transmitted his voice once again. Zhou Pingyang took a closer look and realized that the yin and yang formation was indeed resonating with Qin Yu. Using the powers of the three emperors to control the force of the heavens and earth in the ancient imperial palace, before merging them with the yin and yang formation, upon having this thought, Zhou Pingyang's eyes flickered coldly. Forget about the formation, let's kill him first. Zhou Pingyang transmitted his voice to Li Huanglong and the rest of the palace masters. Whoosh! At that instant, Qin Yu stepped forward and lashed out with the godly spear in his hand. Son of a bitch, let's see who can save you today. Zhao Mingtian's eyes flickered coldly as he faced the attack head-on. His body was covered in ancient runes as an underworld aura swept across the place, as if an ancient underworld beast from hell had appeared. A man and a beast, they used frightening divine abilities and secret techniques to attack Qin Yu from all sides. They wanted to kill Qin Yu and avenge their friend. Zhao Mingtian was not afraid of a mere first-layer martial progenitor, even if he had obtained the succession of the three emperors. Soul-sealing divine light. The two of them met in the blink of an eye. Qin Yu moved his left hand and two beams of divine light shot out. The succession of the emperors? Zhao Mingtian was shocked and immediately dodged. However, at that moment, a miserable howl was heard. The ancient underworld beast was sealed by the divine light, and then a vortex of divine light appeared and swallowed it up. Qin Yu's ghostly pupils flickered and then fell silent. Damn it! Zhao Mingtian, who had suffered a great loss because of his carelessness, was furious. Although the ancient underworld beast was an immortal creature of the netherworld, its sealing technique was the only thing that made it wary. The ancient underworld beast had been greatly suppressed in the battle of the emperors of the ancient underworld. Zhao Mingtian did not expect that Qin Yu had not only obtained the succession of the Emperor of War, but also the inheritance of the divine light. Watch out! Suddenly, a loud shout was heard. Zhao Mingtian felt a shocking sword power slashing toward him from the sky. The target was behind him. The incarnation of the divine light. He looked at Qin Yu, who was not far away, with a cold and indifferent gaze. At that moment, Zhao Mingtian felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave. His whole body was cold, and the secret technique that the divine light had once performed appeared in his mind. Puff! As soon as he moved, he felt the sky being torn apart. A bone-chilling spear light pierced through his glabella and instantly crushed his soul. A figure appeared behind Zhao Mingtian. It was Qin Yu. Boom! Almost at the same time, the destructive sword light slashed on Qin Yu's body, and a deafening explosion sounded. Sword intent that could destroy the heavens and the earth raged out, and huge waves rose up in the void like the surface of the sea. Chapter 283. When the destructive sword tide dissipated, Qin Yu's figure was revealed. After receiving Zhou Pingyang's destructive sword strike, Qin Yu was completely unscathed. The force of the heavens and earth formed an ancient seal around Qin Yu, protecting him like an ancient deity. It was the immortal Stone Emperor's seal. The Tianji martial emperor is dead? No way. A martial progenitor who has gone through the 9th cycle of the Nirvana realm was killed in a single blow? What the hell? Looking at Zhao Mingtian, who had lost his life force and soul, all the martial ancestors of the Allied army felt a bone-chilling chill in their hearts. A martial progenitor who had gone through the 9th cycle of the Nirvana realm was considered a renowned figure in the 7 great martial realms. However, he had been killed by Qin Yu with a single strike. How could they not feel a chill down their spines? Even Wei Yuanzhou, Wu Huangfeng, and the others of the ancient imperial palace were dumbfounded. Although they already knew Qin Yu's strength was extraordinary from the battle 3 days ago, they were still shocked. However, he never would have imagined that Qin Yu's strength was actually this powerful. His strength was comparable to the strength of the ancient emperor at his peak. The immortal Stone Emperor's seal? Even the succession of the Stone Emperor, Zhou Pingyang, who was emitting a terrifying aura, wore an astonished look. The immortal Stone Emperor's seal on Qin Yu was even more unbelievable than Zhao Mingtian's death. Qin Yu had actually obtained all of the ancient era's 3 great ancient emperors' divine abilities. He finally knew why Wei Yuanzhou and Wu Huangfeng did not compete with Qin Yu for the throne. No one had ever obtained the succession of the 3 ancient emperors in the history of the ancient imperial palace. Whoosh! While the crowd was still immersed in their astonishment, Qin Yu's figure dashed toward Zhou Pingyang and the others at a rapid speed. The force of the heavens and earth was being controlled by him at that instant, resulting in a terrifying aura. Trying to defeat all of us by yourself? You're overestimating yourself. Kill! Zhou Pingyang, Li Huanglong, Song Luoshu, and the others collected their thoughts. Their expressions darkened as the laws of the heavens and earth surged violently. Whoosh! Whoosh! However, at this moment, Wei Yuanzhou, Wu Huangfeng and the other elders simultaneously activated the Grand Formation. Immediately, countless black and white light pillars fell from the sky within the Yin-Yang Two Forms formation. They were like a meteor shower. Every black and white pillar of light contained the terrifying power of Yin and Yang, causing the sky to tremble. Pung pung pung. The 6,000 soldiers of the martial imperial mansion immediately attacked the black and white pillars of light. Violent laws and Yin and Yang forces violently collided. The void within tens of thousands of miles was immediately turned into a zone of destruction. The ripples of the laws and the flows of Yin and Yang mixed and surged like chaos. Swish! Swish! Qin Yu sneered when he saw the Yin-Yang Qi in the air. His body glowed with divine light as 9 divine light clones materialized and pounced on Zhou Pingyang and the others. Qin Yu's main body was staring at the Book of Kangluo. The Tsongling demon flame of the Book of Tsong Luo made the golden flame sky incinerate fire restless, as if it wanted to devour it. Qin Yu knew that the godly flame had its own spirit. However, Qin Yu did not expect the golden flame sky incinerate fire to want to devour the other godly flames. Sword slash! Zhou Pingyang slashed out with his sword. The sword radiance was as dazzling as the stars as it tore through the air and slashed at one of the divine light clones. Ice seal! A shocking chill spread out as the profound cold heavenly ice shone behind Li Huanglong. The ice spread out in the air and pounced on the divine light clones. In the blink of an eye, the space around them had turned into a world of ice. The other masters of the martial imperial manor also unleashed their attacks and joined forces to attack the divine light clones. As for the other martial ancestors, they did not sit back and watch the show. Instead, they attacked the elders of the ancient imperial hall while resisting the Yin and Yang pillars of light. They should be able to deal with Qin Yu with the help of the lords of the martial imperial mansions. Now they had to kill the person controlling the Yin-Yang Two Forms formation. Demonic Flame. Songlo Shu, who was targeted by Qin Yu's main body, was covered in white flames. He clapped his hands together and separated them. The azure flame devil spirit was summoned. With a torrent of flames, it swept towards Qin Yu. Fire burn! Qin Yu did not avoid it. The golden flame sky incinerate fire that was like lava, and a majestic dragon's aura covered the area. The two spiritual fires with astonishing power collided with each other, burning each other with the power to burn mountains and boil seas. The azure flame demonic spirit appeared in the azure spirit demonic flame, and it seemed to want to cut the golden flame sky incinerate fire apart. However, a mysterious dragon's shadow appeared in the golden flame sky incinerate fire, and it fought with the azure flame demonic spirit. It was the golden flame sky incinerate dragon. To be exact, it was the dragon soul of the golden flame sky incinerate dragon. Dragon clan flame? Kangluo Shu realized that the azure spirit demonic flame, which he had always treated as his trump card, was being devoured by the golden flame sky incinerate fire. Although the devouring was small, Kangluo Shu immediately noticed it, and it shocked him. The golden flame sky incinerate fire was too overbearing. Whoosh! The golden flame sky incinerate fire was destroyed, and a figure charged towards Kangluo Shu at lightning speed. It was Qin Yu. As long as Kangluo Shu was destroyed, the azure spirit demonic flame would be easily devoured. Die! Using the dragon's aura of the golden flame sky incinerate fire, the azure dragon patterns in Qin Yu's body wrapped around his flesh and bones. His aura suddenly surged, and his cultivation rose to the nirvana realm of the martial ancestor realm. Divine light flashed as Qin Yu threw out a sealing divine light with his left hand, and the sky-splitting divine spear in his right hand was surrounded by lightning. The azure dragon battling the heavens, the sealing divine light and the law of lightning were all used. Boom! Like a soul-shaking thunderclap, the worldly laws around Song Luoshu were torn apart. His entire body was instantly covered in destructive lightning and divine light. When the lightning and divine light dissipated, Kangluo Shu had turned into a dried corpse, and his blood had disappeared. Seeing that Qin Yu had killed another lord of a top-tier king's palace in an instant, the alliance army of the martial imperial manor that had suffered heavy casualties while resisting the yin and yang light pillars became restless. If the lords of the top-tier king's palaces were killed one after another, they would be the ones facing the calamity. Damn it, let's attack together! Zhou Pingyang immediately charged toward Qin Yu after shattering the godly light clone with a single slash. Li Huanglong and the other lords of the king's palaces followed suit. Qin Yu's godly light clone was nowhere as powerful as the ancient emperor. After all, Qin Yu's cultivation was only at the first layer martial progenitor realm, thus the strength of the godly light clone was no match for the ancient emperor. Great timing! Qin Yu was surrounded by a murderous aura as he executed the law of speed and the law of slaughter as he charged toward the 30 lords of the king's palaces. His aura was utterly terrifying. None of the alliance army of the king's palaces would leave this place alive. Rumble! In the blink of an eye, Qin Yu clashed with Zhou Pingyang and the others. The shocking battle spread across the sky. Qin Yu, who was fighting against 30 lords of the king's palaces, did not seem to be at a disadvantage. With the mystical abilities of the 3 martial emperors, the force of the heavens and earth from the ancient imperial palace, and the enhancement from the azure dragon battling the heavens and the yin and yang formation, Qin Yu's strength was enough to defeat everyone at the scene. Even if Zhou Pingyang and the others teamed up, they would not stand a chance against Qin Yu. Chapter 284. In the midst of an intense battle that was filled with murderous intent, 8 out of the 30 masters of the royal palaces were slain by Qin Yu's spear. This caused Zhou Pingyang and the others to feel even more uneasy. The situation before their eyes was out of everyone's expectations. Not only them, 10 masters of the royal palaces had fallen. Over 1,000 martial progenitors of the royal palaces had fallen too. Although most of them were low-ranked martial progenitors, it was still a huge blow to the royal palaces. The morale of the royal palaces was greatly shaken. No one was unafraid of death. They had thought they could easily replace the ancient imperial palace when they had arrived. However, the current situation had given them a solid slap in the face, causing them to bleed profusely. Currently, under the effects of the yin-yang two forms formation, none of the martial progenitors of the ancient imperial palace were injured, let alone dead. As time passed, the power of the yin-yang two forms formation grew even more terrifying. At this rate, they would surely be wiped out. Die. Qin Yu pointed with his left hand and summoned the immortal binding rope, trapping one of the masters of the royal palaces. His right hand shuddered as the sky-shattering spear tore the space apart like a dragon emerging from the ocean. Whoosh! The thick layer of ice in the sky was shattered. The defense that Li Huanglong had set up was torn apart. His heart was penetrated by the sky-shattering spear, sealing his flesh and soul. 4 out of the 5 masters of the royal palaces had died. Rumble! At the moment when Qin Yu beheaded Li Huanglong, Zhou Pingyang and the other masters of the prince's mansion also unleashed their strongest killing moves to attack him. Apart from Zhou Pingyang and his crew, the martial progenitors who had undergone the Nirvana tribulation took the opportunity to attack too. These people practiced different methods of cultivation, thus they were obviously not from the ancient imperial martial realm. The sky began to distort due to the power of the laws of destruction, causing pitch-black cracks to appear continuously. Bang bang bang! The indestructible ancient emperor's seal did not show any sign of cracking after being attacked by the Nirvana martial progenitors. As for the power that penetrated the indestructible ancient emperor's seal and landed on Qin Yu's body, even though the power of the divine dragon tyrannical body was significantly stronger, it did not inflict any damage to Qin Yu. Heavenly prison! Divine light flickered, and the sky splitter's spear dissipated. Qin Yu's hands rapidly formed seals. A pitch-black cage that was 3,000 meters wide descended from the sky, trapping all the people who were attacking Qin Yu. An extremely ominous aura emanated from the pitch-black cage, filling the void. Zhou Pingyang and the others were under great pressure. Their battle prowess was greatly suppressed. Whoosh! Qin Yu took a step forward and charged into the heavenly prison as well. He condensed a spear and stabbed it at Zhou Yangping. Zhou Pingyang was the only lord of the 5 great imperial mansions. As long as the 5 of them died, the martial imperial family's alliance army would be like a bunch of dragons without a leader and would become a pile of loose sand. The divine sword has been unsealed, and the sword spirit has fused into the body. Zhou Pingyang, who was being stared at by Qin Yu, felt a bone-chilling sense of danger. He shouted loudly, and the ancient sword in his hand exuded a divine might. Then, it suddenly disintegrated, and a resplendent sword light entered his body. That ancient sword was a quasi-divine artifact that had already nurtured a sword spirit. Now that the sword spirit had fused into his body, Zhou Pingyang, who was originally a sword, had a sword body. Although Qin Yu's strength was no weaker than that of the ancient emperor, Zhou Pingyang was trapped in this cage. However, being trapped in this prison, Zhou Pingyang had no way to escape. He could only try his best to use his hand as a sword and slash out with his strongest sword. Crack! The thunder god's spear and the destructive sword light collided violently in the void. Heaven and earth shook violently, and the sun and moon dimmed. The surrounding lords of the imperial mansions who had taken the opportunity to attack Qin Yu were directly sent flying by the destructive attack that swept out. Then, a clear and audible explosion sounded. The destructive sword light shattered, and Zhou Pingyang, who had formed a sword with his hand, was torn in half by the spear. Blood splattered everywhere, and he died on the spot. At this point, the lords of the 5 great imperial mansions had completely fallen. The lords of the imperial mansions, as well as the people from the other forces of the martial world, were even more terrified. As for Qin Yu, they no longer had the heart to continue fighting. But now they were trapped in this prison. Even if they wanted to escape, they could no longer do so. Kill. However, Qin Yu did not hesitate in the slightest. After killing Zhou Pingyang, he immediately rushed towards them. With the support of the three emperors' superpower and the power of heaven and earth, one by one, the top martial ancestors died in Qin Yu's hands. In less than 15 minutes, all the lords of the imperial mansions were dead. Even their saints' souls did not manage to escape. As for the people from the other forces of the martial world, Qin Yu did not show any mercy and sent them on their way. The lords of the imperial mansions are all dead? His strength is too terrifying. There's simply no one who can deal with him. What should we do now? The death of Zhou Pingyang and the other lords of the imperial mansions had caused the alliance army of the imperial mansions, which had lost close to 2,000 people, to lose their will to fight. The alliance army of the imperial mansions had their own plans, and their alliance was not very reliable. Now that the lords of the imperial mansions had died, the alliance army was naturally in chaos. The three emperors' superpower can draw the power of heaven and earth from the entire Sumeru realm. If no martial emperors come, no one will be able to deal with him. Initially, I thought that the ancient emperors had passed away, and the opportunity to devour the ancient imperial martial world had come. Who would have thought that an even more ferocious person would appear? His strength is only so terrifying in the ancient imperial hall. Once he leaves the ancient imperial hall, he will not even be half of his strength. Let's retreat first. Let's go. Those who were relatively calm were the people from the other forces of the martial world. After they discussed with one another, they immediately decided to retreat. Heh, do you think that you can still leave now? Qin Yu's eyes were as sharp as an eagle's. He saw through the situation and immediately detected the intentions of the people from the other forces. The divine light clone and the earth-shattering battle broke out again, and the martial ancestors fell one after another. Ghost Spirit Curse. Suddenly, a black figure pounced towards Qin Yu at lightning speed. It was the black-robed man from the Nine Ghosts Hall. Devour! Qin Yu flipped his hand. A ferocious dragon head appeared on his palm that emitted a godly glow. The mysterious ancient curse executed by the black-robed man was instantly devoured. Before the black-robed man could react, the sky-shattering godly spear tore the space apart and killed him. Set up the lunar formation. Qin Yu transmitted his voice when he saw the martial progenitors of the martial emperor palace showing signs of fleeing. Wei Yuanjiu, Wu Huangfeng, and the elders of the ancient imperial hall immediately changed the formation. The yin and yang formation that was formed by the intersection of yin and yang underwent a great change. Although it was still a circular formation covering a few 10,000 li, the center of the formation was pitch black. The lunar qi inside the formation was rolling rapidly, making it impossible to see one's own fingers. Outside the formation was a circle of white light. The circle of white light emitted a mysterious ripple, which seemed to be able to influence the heavens and earth, trapping the martial progenitors of the martial emperor palace. Qin Yu, who was surrounded by the rolling lunar qi, wore a cold look. His body was covered in pitch-black dragon scales, while his figure was shrouded in a black mist. It was none other than the Nine Hells Purgatory. Now, the lunar formation was able to block their vision and divine sense. Qin Yu could finally unleash his full strength and slaughter the martial emperor palace. Chapter 285. The Taiyin Qi swept across the sky, blocking one's sight and sealing off one's divine sense. It was as if one was trapped in a bottomless black hole, unable to tell the direction. Bang bang bang! Within the lunar energy, there was a pitch-black shadow that was as quick as lightning. Wherever the figure passed, the martial progenitors would lose their lives regardless of their cultivation. It was Qin Yu who was killing martial progenitors in a frenzy. With Qin Yu's current strength, he could even kill an advanced martial progenitor with a single move. While Qin Yu was massacring, The elders of the ancient imperial palace did not stay idle either. They all used their full strength to activate the Tyene formation. Pillars of Tyene light descended upon the Tyene area like a storm. Under the combined attacks of Qin Yu and the Tyene formation, the martial progenitors of the alliance suffered great casualties. After a full 4 hours, puff, Qin Yu struck out with his spear, killing a Nirvana martial progenitor instantly with a headshot, causing his soul to dissipate. At that moment, every martial progenitor of the alliance was killed. After killing the martial progenitor, the black dragon scales on Qin Yu's body disappeared, and the mystical ability of the 3 emperors dissipated too. As the force of the heavens and earth dissipated, the Tyene formation dissipated as if it had lost its support. Both the Yin and Yang formation and the Tyene formation required the force of the heavens and earth. Now that Qin Yu had withdrawn the mystical ability of the 3 emperors, the force of the heavens and earth had disappeared, thus the formation could no longer be activated. As the Tyene Qi dissipated, the sky regained its brightness. The sight that took place caused the elders of the ancient imperial palace to fall into a dead silence. Corpses were piled up in the sky, floating in the air by some force. Normally, the sight of over 6,000 corpses would not be too shocking for a martial progenitor. However, these corpses were all martial progenitors just like them when they were alive. However, not a single one of them was left alive, as they had all turned into corpses. In other words, more than half of the martial progenitors of the ancient imperial martial realm had died here. Elder Wei. Qin Yu stood in the sky as he remained calm after killing a few thousand martial progenitors. Ancient Emperor. Wei Yuanzhou regained his senses and immediately flew over. His attitude was extremely respectful. The thousands of martial progenitor corpses before him had completely subdued him. Take 500 palace elders and go to the various rebellious mansions. Seal all the passages to the shattered continents under their control. Once the other forces in the martial arts world who had interfered knew the result of the battle, they would definitely take action. At this time, it was only natural for him to take control of the entire ancient imperial martial world. The ancient imperial martial world was indeed vast and boundless. However, after so many years of cultivation, the resources from all over the place had basically been swept clean by the various royal mansions. Therefore, the ancient imperial martial world's shattered continent was what made the other martial realms greedy. There were more than 2,000 broken continents in the ancient imperial martial world, and they were rich in resources. As a result, the number of martial ancestors in the ancient imperial martial realm far surpassed that of the other martial realms. Yes. Wei Yuanzhou immediately left with the martial progenitor realm elders. Elder Wu, seal these people's fates with a sealing crystal and spread it out. After that, take the other elders and spread them out at the boundary of the martial arts world. If any martial progenitor realm cultivator is discovered, chase them away. Remember to bring the teleportation talisman with you. If anything happens, I'll provide assistance. Qin Yu would like to see what would happen. With the example of the martial progenitor realm cultivators, who would dare to come again? Yes. Wu Huangfeng respectfully received the order and left. After all the elders left, Qin Yu's gaze, intentionally or unintentionally, looked toward a certain direction. Then, he entered the Sumer Gate. Do you want me to take care of him? As Qin Yu entered the ancient imperial palace, a voice entered Qin Yu's ears. It was none other than the skeleton ghost king. In the direction that Qin Yu was looking at, a martial progenitor realm cultivator was hiding, but he had yet to show himself. There's no need for that. Qin Yu shook his head slightly. Before the battle, there were other forces that had interfered. As a safety precaution, Qin Yu had asked the skeleton ghost king to guard him. There was indeed someone hiding in the dark, but perhaps it was because the outcome of the battle was too shocking. The cultivator had yet to make his move. Since the cultivator had yet to make his move, Qin Yu was too lazy to expose the skeleton Ghost King. His strength is quite similar to the kid from the 100 Beast Palace, but, not long after Qin Yu returned to the Sumer realm, a figure appeared from the rift in the distance. The figure was wearing a black robe with a third eye on his forehead. It was none other than the master of the heavenly demon sect, Mo Changsheng. According to the plan, Mo Changsheng would eliminate the cultivators of the other martial arts worlds after the ancient imperial palace was eliminated. Zhou Pingyang would then show himself and subdue the emperor palace of the ancient imperial martial world, allowing him to dominate the ancient imperial martial world. However, Qin Yu's sudden rise had completely ruined his plan. It was not possible to utilize the force of the heavens and earth to strengthen one's cultivation. Mo Changsheng subconsciously recalled Qin Yu from the Battle of the 100 Beast Palace. One had used a secret technique to strengthen his cultivation, while the other had used the force of the heavens and earth to fight enemies several levels higher. However, the methods they used were completely different. As the elder of the ancient imperial palace took control of the various emperor palaces in the ancient imperial martial world, the outcome of this battle quickly spread throughout the entire ancient imperial martial world. The few forces from the outside world, who were eyeing the ancient imperial martial world, also received the news and sent people to the ancient imperial martial world. However, they were chased away by Wu Huangfeng and the others. Those forces were naturally displeased. After all, they had many martial ancestors who were still alive. They were prepared to join forces and barge into the ancient imperial martial world. However, as the scene of the thousands of martial ancestors' corpses spread, the entire ancient imperial martial world was shocked. The other forces from the ancient imperial martial world were silent. The scene of thousands of martial ancestors dying in battle was enough to shock any force from the 7 major martial worlds. Even the major forces from the imperial domain were shocked. What kind of power was needed to kill thousands of martial ancestors? This caused the restless forces from the outside world to settle down immediately. They tried to find out more about the background of the ancient imperial palace. At this moment, they would not believe that the ancient imperial palace did not have a powerful backer. As for the new emperor of the ancient imperial palace, Qin Yu, who had suddenly appeared, they were all curious. The forces in the outside world were curious as well. They suspected that Lin Fan was sent by the backing of the ancient imperial hall. After all, the aptitude of a divine body had not appeared in the 7 major martial worlds for thousands of years. Such a genius was hard to come by even in the 3 major imperial domains. Perhaps only the ancient families and sacred grounds in the 9 prefectures of the heaven domain would have a divine body. 7 days later, in the ancient imperial palace, Qin Yu sat cross-legged and started to cultivate. In these 7 days, Qin Yu did not care about the turmoil in the outside world. He was fine as long as they did not attack the ancient imperial martial world. Roar! Suddenly, Qin Yu's expression changed and he immediately entered the ancient seal of the divine dragon. A loud dragon roar reverberated in the ancient seal of the divine dragon. After a few months of seclusion, the dragon soul had finally awakened. After refining the origin dragon blood of the golden flame heaven incinerating dragon, the dragon soul's cultivation had reached the martial ancestor realm. Furthermore, it had reached the 7th level martial ancestor realm. The current dragon soul's cultivation was gradually approaching that of his previous life. In his previous life, his cultivation was only at the peak of the nirvana realm. He had not reached the martial monarch realm. Chapter 286. I can finally take on a human form. The dragon soul's scales glowed and countless mysterious dragon runes flickered. A vast dragon chi circled around it. After a while, the dragon soul's body condensed and turned into a human figure. It looked like a teenager in his teens. He was dressed in black and had a cold gaze. His aura was extraordinary. The transformation of the dragon soul did not depend on the strength of the cultivation but the grade of the dragon body. After refining the origin dragon blood of the golden flame sky incinerating dragon, the dragon soul's grade had reached heaven grade. Peak heaven grade? Qin Yu's eyes lit up. Not only did the dragon soul's cultivation improve, but its body had also reached the peak heaven grade. In this way, the dragon soul only needed to evolve once more to reach the divine grade. By then, the dragon soul would be able to break through to the martial emperor realm. In his previous life, Qin Yu's cultivation was too powerful. The dragon soul could only come in handy when it sensed the dragon blood. Therefore, every time the dragon soul devoured the dragon blood, it would merge it with the dragon body so that the dragon body would continue to evolve. In the future, it would be able to reach the level of the immortal ancient Shinran. However, in this life, the dragon soul wanted to walk the path of battle. Its dragon body and cultivation would naturally go hand in hand. With my current combat strength, I can already fight against a Nirvana martial ancestor. The dragon soul clenched its fists and a bright smile appeared on its young face. It seems that you will reach the martial emperor realm before me. Qin Yu smiled and asked, by the way, the golden flame sky incinerating dragon should have woken up, right? Although the golden flame sky incinerating dragon blood had greatly damaged its vitality, it had been a few days. The dragon soul's origin dragon world had 5 times, no, it had 10 times the flow of time now. It was about time for the golden flame sky incinerating dragon to wake up. It has been awake for a long time. Behind the dragon soul, chaotic dragon chi filled the air and the origin dragon world appeared. The two stepped forward and entered the origin dragon world. In the origin dragon world filled with chaotic dragon chi, there was a huge flame dragon that was tens of thousands of feet long. The magma-like flames burned crazily, causing the void to twist and distort. The origin dragon realm had grown more than 10 times its original size as the dragon soul's rank and cultivation grew stronger. On the ground, mountains, rivers, and plains evolved. There was even spiritual chi surrounding it. It was like a paradise. Human. Seeing the appearance of Qin Yu and the dragon soul, the golden flame heaven incinerating dragon, which was originally resting and recovering, suddenly went berserk. Lava flames burst out of the dragon's eyes. The huge dragon head seemed to want to swallow Qin Yu whole. The golden flames heaven incinerating dragon sensed that Qin Yu and the dragon soul had devoured its dragon blood origin. This naturally made the golden flame heaven burning dragon furious. Without the origin dragon blood, its cultivation would stop at this level. It would never be able to improve again. Qin Yu smiled. Before he had achieved the martial progenitor realm, the golden flame heaven incinerating dragon was no match against him, let alone now. Qin Yu opened his right hand and the golden heaven incinerating flame burned in his palm. Within the flames, there was also a drop of sparkling and translucent dragon blood. A tiny fiery dragon was swimming inside the dragon blood. The drop of dragon blood was the core of the golden flame heaven-burning dragon's origin. It was also the blood that Qin Yu had used to refine the origin dragon seal. The enraged golden flames heaven-incinerating dragon's eyes widened as it stared at the drop of dragon blood. I'll give you one more chance. Submit yourself to me and become my contracted beast. I'll return the origin dragon blood and your origin skill to you. If you don't agree, you can die now. Qin Yu said calmly. The golden flames heaven incinerating dragon breathed out flames as it stared at Qin Yu unwillingly. After a while, the golden flames heaven incinerating dragon lowered its head after sensing the murderous intent from Qin Yu's body. Don't worry, you'll be glad for the decision you've made today. Qin Yu struck out with his palm. A mysterious seal formation appeared between the golden flames heaven incinerating dragon's eyebrows. Qin Yu and the golden flames heaven incinerating dragon immediately had a telepathic connection, just like the skeleton ghost king. After forming the contract seal, Qin Yu returned the Origin Dragon Seal and Origin Dragon Blood to the Golden Flames Heaven Incinerating Dragon. The power of the flames has increased? After absorbing the Origin Dragon Blood, the Golden Flames Heaven Incinerating Dragon's weak aura immediately recovered. At this time, the Golden Flames Heaven Incinerating Dragon also realized that its Origin Dragon Flame had become much stronger. It seems that you still don't know that your Origin Flame can evolve by devouring the fire seeds of other spiritual flames. The Golden Flames Heaven Incinerating Dragon had become stronger because it had devoured the Tsongling demonic flame last time. The Golden Flames Heaven Incinerating Dragon was stunned. It had never left the ancient Emperor's secret realm, so it didn't know that its Origin Dragon Flame could devour other fire seed. Its race didn't seem to have this ability either. Could it be that something had changed? Eternal Dragon Country. The first step is considered a success. Qin Yu flew one round in the Origin Dragon world of the Dragon Soul and then left the Origin Dragon world. The Dragon Soul also appeared from the ancient Dragon Seal. Dragon Soul, you have to change your appearance and aura. Qin Yu looked at the Dragon Soul's appearance and said. In his previous life, many of his old friends and enemies had seen the Dragon Soul's appearance. If he were to run into an old acquaintance like Xing Luo, then his identity might very well be exposed. Understood. The Dragon Soul nodded and the extraordinary aura on its body immediately retracted, turning it completely into an ordinary person. Its face, which was originally cold and somewhat similar to Qin Yu's previous life, also turned into a baby face. The power of heaven and earth? Seeing Qin Yu sitting cross-legged and the power of heaven and earth surging around him, the Dragon Soul was surprised. Qin Yu could actually use the power of heaven and earth? With a thought, Qin Yu directly threw the Dragon Soul's memories after its seclusion to the Dragon Soul. The Dragon Soul was not Qin Yu's contracted creature. The relationship between the two of them was far more than the telepathy between contracted creatures. Although the Dragon Soul was cultivated from the body of the immortal ancient Shinran. However, what he used was a trace of Qin Yu's Origin Soul energy. Therefore, the two of them, to a certain extent, could be considered as the same body. Sometimes, Qin Yu only needed to think, and the Dragon Soul would understand Qin Yu's meaning. The heavenly imperial palace of the spiritual state is the descendant of the three ancient emperors? The skeleton Ghost King has reached the martial emperor realm. The myriad Ghost Palace sent a martial emperor to succeed the throne of the ancient emperor. The Dragon Soul digested the information in Qin Yu's memories. Although he had not been in seclusion for long in the real world, the changes in the outside world were huge. Half a month after Qin Yu quelled the chaos in the ancient imperial palace, Qin Yu's cultivation had reached the second level of the martial ancestor realm. During this period, no other forces in the other martial realms attempted to interfere with the ancient imperial martial realm. The ancient imperial martial realm returned to peace after a long period of chaos. At this moment, in the 100 martial realm, which was quite far away from the ancient imperial martial realm. 7th Martial Uncle. In the myriad Ghost Palace, Bailey Xionghuang, who was a peak Nirvana realm martial ancestor, bowed respectfully to a white-haired elder. How is it? Have you found the whereabouts of the ancient immortal token? The white-haired old man opened his eyes, and a terrifying pressure that seemed to materialize appeared, causing even the void to sink. Not yet. Bailey Xionghuang's face turned slightly pale. Chapter 287. It's been so long. You still haven't found them? The white-haired old man looked at Bailey Xionghuang. Immediately, Bailey Xionghuang felt like he was being pressed down by a giant mountain. Even breathing became difficult for him. Xionghuang, you're the one most likely to reach the martial emperor realm in our lineage. That's why your master went to such great lengths to conceal the fact that the ancient immortal badge had disappeared from your hands. Otherwise, you should know what kind of situation you'd be in right now, right? the white-haired old man said sternly. Seventh martial uncle, don't worry. Even if I have to turn the 7 great martial realms upside down, I'll find those too. I won't let down my master's nurturing. Bailey Xionghuang quickly said. You don't have much time left. It's best that you find them and retrieve the ancient immortal badge before Qingyu Island spreads the news. Otherwise, no matter how much your master wants to protect you, you won't be able to escape death when the Ghost Emperor looks into it. The white-haired old man withdrew his gaze and said indifferently. Yes. Bailey Xionghuang heaved a sigh of relief and quickly said, Have you investigated the ancient imperial martial world properly? What happened? The white-haired old man asked again. I've sent people to investigate. Some time ago, an ancient ruin appeared in the ancient imperial martial realm. It seems like a martial emperor expert broke through space and came here. Many martial ancestors of the ancient imperial martial realm died because of it. However, no one knows the origin of that martial emperor expert. Bailey Xionghuang said. Martial emperor? A strange look flashed across the white-haired old man's eyes. Back then, even though they were separated by several martial realms and were infinitely far away, it still made his hair stand on end. Was it really just a martial emperor? Speaking of the ancient imperial martial realm, I've recently received some information. As Bailey Xionghuang spoke, he moved his right hand. 3 talisman crystals appeared and 3 images appeared. The first image was of several thousand martial ancestors of the ancient imperial martial realm dying in front of the ancient imperial palace. The second image was of Qin Yu participating in the ancient imperial palace's test after changing his appearance. The third image was the battle at the 100 Beasts Palace, when Qin Yu controlled 2 ancient formations to fight against him. His name is Shenfeng. A few months ago, he joined the ancient imperial hall with his divine body. A few days ago, he became the new ancient emperor of the ancient imperial hall. Among these martial progenitors, almost all the high-ranked martial progenitors were killed by him, and his cultivation is only at the first layer martial progenitor realm. Bailey Xionghuang pointed to the 2 images and said, You're saying that this Shenfeng is Qin Yu? The white-haired old man raised his eyebrows. I can't be sure right now, but both of them have amazing secret techniques that can rapidly increase their strength, and even allow them to surpass 7 or 8 minor levels. Moreover, the time when Shenfeng appeared in the ancient imperial palace and the time when Qin Yu disappeared from the 100 Beast Palace were only a few days apart. Another thing is that this Shenfeng seemed to have appeared out of thin air. We were completely unable to find out anything about his identity and origin. It was only Bailey Xionghuang's speculation. It was not easy to gather information from the ancient imperial hall. Send out the secret guards. Carefully investigate this man's background. But no matter whether he is Qin Yu or not, don't make it public yet. The ancient imperial hall's backer is no ordinary faction. If we offend them, we might end up in a huge mess. The white-haired old man said after pondering for a moment. A martial progenitor with the strength of a peak martial progenitor was nothing in his eyes. However, if the ancient imperial hall was aware of it, the palace might interfere, and the matter would be blown out of proportion. They would not be able to keep the ancient immortal badge a secret either. If that happened, it would not bring any benefits to their faction. 7th Martial Uncle, don't worry. I know what to do. Bailey Xionghuang acknowledged the order and left. After the ancient imperial martial realm had settled down, Qin Yu had been cultivating in seclusion. He had left all the matters to Wei Yuanzhou and Wu Huangfeng. With the 2 founding elders of the ancient imperial hall around, the palaces in the ancient imperial martial realm had been purged. However, the various cities and forces in the ancient imperial martial realm were not in chaos. Qin Yu continued to train peacefully until a piece of news spread. An imperial tomb has appeared in the divine moon martial realm? After hearing the news from Wei Yuanzhou, Qin Yu came out of seclusion. It had been 2 months since the battle between the Martial Imperial Mansion's army. Qin Yu's continuous improvement of his dragon bloodline talent had been fully displayed. In just 2 months, Qin Yu's cultivation had broken through 2 levels, reaching the 3rd level martial progenitor realm. With a divine physique that was 40 times stronger, Qin Yu had made rapid progress even with the difficulty of cultivating in the martial progenitor realm. It can't be, right? There's actually an Emperor Realm Master's tomb in the 7 martial realms? Dragon Soul, who was cultivating beside Qin Yu, was in disbelief. Imperial Tomb, only the ancient tombs left behind by Imperial Masters were qualified to be called such. There are even inheritances of the 3 ancient emperors. It's not impossible for an Imperial tomb to appear. Qin Yu's eyes lit up and he immediately left the palace. Ancient Emperor! Wei Yuanzhou, Wu Huangfeng, and a few other top elders were already waiting outside the palace. However, when they saw Dragon Soul, who had appeared with Qin Yu, they were a little surprised. They did not know where Dragon Soul had come from. An Imperial tomb has really appeared in the Divine Moon martial realm? Qin Yu took a few steps forward and asked directly. That's right. The news has spread throughout the 7 great martial realms. Even the major forces in the chaotic Heaven Imperial realm seem to have been alarmed. Wei Yuanzhou nodded with excitement on his face. The ancient Imperial martial realm and the Divine Moon martial realm were neighbors. Now that such an opportunity had appeared, there was no reason for them to let it go. According to the report from the secret agent, that Imperial tomb should be the tomb of the Divine Moon Spirit Emperor, who passed away 300 years ago. Wu Huangfeng added, Divine Moon Spirit Emperor? Martial Emperor? Qin Yu was startled. Was it not the Emperor realm? Although the Divine Moon Spirit Emperor did not step into the Supreme Emperor realm, rumor has it that his combat strength when he was alive seemed to be comparable to an ordinary Emperor realm master. Many people say that the Divine Moon Spirit Emperor was only 1 step away from stepping into the Emperor realm. Wei Yuanzhou nodded and explained. Just touching the Emperor realm? Qin Yu muttered to himself. He originally thought that if he could get the Emperor soul left behind by a real Emperor Realm Master, then there would be a way to restore his eldest senior brother's damaged soul origin. However, if it was just a martial Emperor soul, he did not know if it would be so useful. However, regardless of whether it was useful or not, as long as there was an Emperor soul, Qin Yu would not let it go. I'm afraid that the Divine Moon martial realm is not a peaceful place now. Go and prepare. Take 20 top elders and follow me to the Divine Moon martial realm. Qin Yu thought for a while and ordered. With his current status, it was not suitable for him to act alone. Moreover, with Wei Yuanzhou and others accompanying him, they might be able to help. Yes, Wei Yuanzhou and others left excitedly. If Qin Yu were to go with them, they would have a lot more confidence. Not long after, Wei Yuanzhou and others were ready and followed Qin Yu out of the ancient imperial palace. Chapter 288. The situation in the Mystic Moon martial world was similar to that in the ancient imperial martial world. Although the Mystic Moon martial world was not dominated by a single force, it was divided into 4 top forces that ruled the 4 regions. These 4 top forces all had some relationship with the Mystic Moon Spirit Emperor. Therefore, the Mystic Moon martial world was also a martial world that rarely experienced turmoil. However, with the appearance of the Mystic Moon Imperial Tomb, the peaceful Mystic Moon martial world immediately became chaotic. Countless forces and martial artists flocked over. Those who dared to come at this time were naturally the top forces of the 7 great martial worlds. Even the top forces of the chaotic sky imperial realm had quietly infiltrated. Even the 4 great forces of the Mystic Moon martial world did not dare to stop them. Swoosh! A cloud of white mist streaked across the sky, leaving a white cloud tail behind. In the cloud there were 21 figures. They were Qin Yu and the others who had left the ancient imperial palace. That cloud was called the Flying Heaven Cloud. It was a top-flying sacred artifact. Its speed was comparable to a Nirvana martial ancestor. It was an excellent choice to ride the flying cloud. After all, no one knew what would happen in the mystic moon martial world where countless experts from the 7 great martial worlds gathered. They had to be in peak condition. A day later, the flying cloud appeared at the western edge of the mystic moon martial world, in front of a vast blue sea. Qin Yu kept the flying cloud and looked into the distance of the blue sea. Above the surface of the sea, there was a huge, pale white moon rising, and the moonlight scattered like stardust. The reflection of the moon on the sea formed a strange scene of 2 moons arching. At a glance, the moonlight scattered and divine light filled the sea. The sea seemed to have become a dreamy fairyland. This Emperor Aura, it seems that his cultivation was at least at the peak of the martial emperor realm when he was alive. Qin Yu carefully sensed the Emperor Aura. The barbarian god in the barbarian god ruins was not at the same level as the moon aura. In this world, there was no lack of monstrous geniuses who could fight enemies above their level. Whether it was the martial ancestor realm, the martial emperor realm, or even the emperor realm, it was the same. Therefore, even if they were both in the martial emperor realm, or even in the same martial emperor realm, there was a huge gap in their combat strength. Just like some people who entered the Tao through shortcuts, their foundations were unstable. Some people, on the other hand, had accumulated a lot of power and rose to power in one move. Even though their cultivation levels were the same, their battle prowess was incomparable. At this moment, there were already countless figures standing on the surface of the sea. As far as the eye could see, there were human heads everywhere. Each of them possessed a shocking aura, indicating that they were all peak martial progenitors. Many people had even dived to the bottom of the sea in an attempt to get a glimpse of the bright moon. However, when they entered the sea and raised their heads to look at the surface, the bright moon had disappeared without a trace. The bright moon could only be seen on the surface of the sea. A very strong restriction pressure. Should I use the heaven evasion stealing technique to sneak in and take a look? The dragon's soul stared at the reflection of the bright moon and the sea surface, and its eyes flickered with a strange light. Qin Yu glanced at the martial progenitors on the surface of the ocean and shook his head slightly. Although the heaven evasion stealing technique could allow one to pass through restrictions and boundaries under the watchful eyes of so many people, he was afraid that he would not be able to hide it from everyone. It was better not to act recklessly for now. It would be troublesome if he were to become the target of the crowd. Fiery Phoenix Valley, Demon Spirit Sect, Fiery Flame Sect, Black Star Sect, 10,000 Ghost Palace, Earth Emperor Sect. As I thought, almost all the top factions of the martial world are here. Wei Yuanjiu, Wu Huangfeng, and the others were observing the martial progenitors on the surface of the ocean. These martial progenitors had basically achieved the Nirvana realm. Even though some of them had yet to achieve the Nirvana realm, their strength was comparable to the top martial progenitors. In other words, almost 80% of the top martial progenitors of the 7 great martial worlds had gathered here. 10,000 Ghost Palace? Hearing Wei Yuanjiu mentioning the 10,000 Ghost Palace, Qin Yu secretly scanned his surroundings and saw the 10,000 Ghost Palace. The leader of the 10,000 Ghost Palace was none other than Bailey Xionghuang. Suddenly, Qin Yu and the dragon soul were startled. They could sense that an imperceptible energy fluctuation was probing them. Who's there? Qin Yu and the dragon soul initially thought it was the 10,000 Ghost Palace. However, after taking a closer look, they realized that the origin of the energy fluctuation was unpredictable. It did not belong to the 10,000 Ghost Palace. This caused Qin Yu and the dragon soul to be cautious. It seemed like someone else was hiding in the dark. It's the people of the ancient Imperial Palace. Does that mean he's the new emperor of the ancient Imperial Palace? The one with the god flesh talent, Shun Feng. Third layer martial progenitor realm? His cultivation isn't much different from the rumors. Indeed, but I'm not sure if he's the one who killed the martial progenitors of the ancient imperial martial world. While Qin Yu was observing his surroundings, the top factions of the 7 great martial worlds were observing Qin Yu too. The battle of the ancient imperial palace had shocked the 7 great martial worlds. Many factions were curious about the new emperor of the ancient imperial palace, Qin Yu. They finally had the chance to meet him in person. Could it be him? In the 10,000 Ghost Palace, Bailey Xionghuang looked at Qin Yu suspiciously. He could not tell whether or not Qin Yu had changed his appearance. However, the Qin Yu before him gave him a strange feeling. This caused the suspicion in his heart to become even more intense. After observing for a while, Qin Yu tilted his head and looked at Bailey Xionghuang indifferently. After looking at each other for a while, Bailey Xionghuang withdrew his gaze. It did not matter if Shun Feng was Qin Yu or not. It was not the right time to alert the enemy. He would have the chance to confirm it when the Divine Moon Imperial Tomb opened. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. 4 figures flew over from the void a few thousand feet away. From the insignia on their clothes, one could tell that they were the 4 great forces of the Divine Moon martial world. Not only the 7 great martial worlds, but even the chaotic sky imperial domain has sent experts. Are you sure you want to follow the original plan? Among the 4, a beautiful woman in a sky blue robe spoke with a grave expression. Since we have already started, how can we give up halfway? A burly man in armor crossed his arms over his chest. His eyes were resolute and there was no change in his expression. Oh, the more people that come, the better the effect of the blood sacrifice. How can we give up now? A man with a gloomy gaze and thin facial features said with a cold smile. Madame Lan, don't be so worried. It is normal for any danger to appear in an imperial tomb. Therefore, even if everyone dies in there, no one will suspect us. A soft chuckle could be heard as a young man holding an ancient fan in his hand said indifferently, "As long as the plan succeeds, our 4 great sects will be able to break through to the Emperor realm and develop in the 3 great imperial domains." The burly armored man looked at the bright moon with a fiery look in his eyes. The appearance of the Divine Moon Imperial Tomb was not a coincidence. It was something that they had planned. Chapter 289. 5 days were gone in the blink of an eye. Over the past 5 days, more cultivators had gathered. There were over 10,000 of them. However, most of the cultivators that had arrived were only standing at the shore. Only the peak martial progenitors were allowed to step onto the surface of the ocean and approach the moon. Bang! On this day, the martial progenitors who were either meditating or observing the moon were startled. An ancient door covered with spiritual inscriptions appeared in the bright moon that was emitting a vast pressure. The door slowly opened as an aura that was 10 times stronger than before swept the place. A huge wave was formed on the surface of the ocean, as if a giant beast was opening its mouth to devour everyone. The entrance has appeared. Quick, go inside. As the ancient door opened, the power of the barrier around the bright moon immediately weakened. Many martial progenitors who could not wait any longer immediately made their moves and flew into the ancient door. It felt like thousands of bees were swarming into a hive. Ancient Emperor? Wei Yuanjiu, Wu Huangfeng, and the others blurted out when they saw Qin Yu's lack of reaction. Let's take a look first. Qin Yu's eyes flickered as he glanced at the bottom of the ocean. Someone's controlling the forbidding aura. The people of the ancient imperial palace did not notice it, but the dragon soul was aware of it. The appearance of the door and the forbidding aura surrounding the moon were being controlled by someone. Apart from Qin Yu and the dragon soul, the 10,000 Ghost Palace, the demon spirit sect, and the rest of the top factions did not make a move. It was obvious that they were aware of the abnormality of the door too. Let's go. After waiting for a total of 15 minutes, when even the other ordinary martial ancestors had entered the ancient gate, Qin Yu finally made his move. He led Wei Yuanzhou and the others, who could not wait any longer, toward the moon. However, their target was not the door. Dong. As they approached the moon, Qin Yu flicked his finger, firing godly rays into the moon. A clear echo came from the vivid and lifelike moon, as if a war drum was being beaten. When he saw the ripples on the bright moon, Qin Yu's figure flashed and he charged into the ripples. Although Wei Yuanzhou and the others were surprised, they still immediately followed in. After Qin Yu and the others entered, the ripples immediately disappeared, and Haoyue regained its tranquility. He actually saw through the array core. Damn it! At the bottom of the deep sea, the faces of the four masters of the Xunyue martial world changed. Never had they imagined that someone would actually be able to directly breach the spirit formation core they had set up. Illusion barrier? Seeing this, Bailey Xionghuang immediately led the myriad Ghost Palace's people and charged forward. After carefully sensing it, he took out an ancient sword and slashed down. A clear opening appeared on the bright moon, and the people from the myriad Ghost Palace disappeared into the opening. The other top factions also followed suit and entered the bright moon. He actually saw through the divine moon's spirit emperor's illusion. Who is the new emperor of the ancient imperial palace? No matter what his background is, we have to change our plan. Let's split up. One group will blood sacrifice those who broke into the illusion barrier, and the other group will stop the people from the ancient imperial palace and the myriad ghost palace from getting close to the forbidden area. Don't worry so much. The spirit emperor's forbidden area is not that easy to enter. After we trigger the restriction, it's still unknown whether they will be able to come out alive. At the bottom of the deep sea, the masters of the four top factions of the Xunyue martial world split into two groups. One group entered the ancient gate, and the other group disappeared into the bright moon. Who would have thought that the divine moon spirit emperor, who was most likely to become a martial emperor, would pass away here? After all the martial progenitors entered the place, a figure appeared from the rift. It was a young woman with a beautiful face, and her clothes were as white as snow. She had an extraordinary temperament. After murmuring softly, she stepped into the air and entered the bright moon. Roar, roar, roar. Meanwhile, Qin Yu and his crew who had entered the bright moon found themselves in a spacious wilderness. Surrounding them were countless ferocious beasts with ferocious auras, glaring at them with bloodthirsty gazes. Southeast, let's get this over with. Qin Yu unleashed the martial arts of the three martial emperors. A godly glow was emitted as the heaven-shattering godly weapon was formed. Without the support of the ancient imperial palace, Qin Yu's cultivation had reached the third-layer martial progenitor realm. However, his strength was nowhere close to the level where he could easily slay the peak martial progenitors in the battle at the ancient imperial palace. The dragon's soul that had just transformed grinned as its battle intent skyrocketed. It immediately lunged at the beast. Wei Yuanzhou and the others did not waste their time either. The rules of the heavens and earth became restless as they executed their moves, resulting in a fierce battle. The beasts possessed the strength of the peak martial progenitor realm, but their intelligence had yet to be awakened. It was as if an ordinary beast had been forcibly injected with the cultivation of the martial progenitor realm. Soon, Qin Yu and the others killed their way out of the horde of beasts and rushed toward the southeast. The people of the ancient imperial palace were astounded by the dragon soul's strength of the nirvana realm. After all, the dragon soul seemed to be younger than Qin Yu. After breaking through the encirclement of the ferocious beasts, Qin Yu and the others encountered many natural dangers and dangers. Luckily, the dangers did not reach the level of the martial monarch realm, thus Qin Yu and his crew were able to overcome them with ease. Buzz buzz buzz. However, as they flew past a certain rift, the rift suddenly shuddered. Streaks of ancient spiritual inscriptions instantly filled half of the void. Teleportation runes? Qin Yu immediately reacted. Someone was setting up a teleportation formation, thus he immediately fired his spear. The dragon soul performed a hand seal and executed the rules of space to seal off the rift. Bang! The rift shuddered violently as the teleportation runes exploded, destroying the teleportation formation. However, Wei Yuanzhou and the elders of the ancient imperial palace had already been teleported away. It seemed like the enemy was only targeting him. This ripple! Suddenly, Qin Yu's expression changed. From all directions, there were dozens of auras that were rapidly closing in on them in an encirclement. It seems like they know who you are. A cold flicker flickered in the dragon soul's eyes. He had already sensed the people surrounding them. Since there are no martial monarchs, they must be suspecting me. With a thought, a spiritual array disc appeared in Qin Yu's left hand. Array flags shot out and turned into countless ancient runes that spread out and merged with the rift. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Not long after, one figure after another rushed over from the distance. Just as Qin Yu and the dragon soul had sensed, they were from the Myriad Ghost Palace. The people from the Myriad Ghost Palace were also quite strange. They were all wearing dark ancient armor and black helmets, making it impossible to see their faces clearly. Qin Yu, long time no see. Bailey Xionghuang stepped out with a cold smile as he stared coldly at Qin Yu. You must have mistaken me for someone else, Qin Yu said indifferently. It seemed like his guess was right. Bailey Xionghuang was just suspicious of him. Haha, do you think that we can't find you just because you've changed your appearance? Don't be too naive. Bailey Xionghuang's eyes flashed and the cold smile on his face deepened. He immediately gave the order. Attack! Chapter 290. Bang bang bang! The martial progenitors of the 10,000 Ghost Palace immediately unleashed a shocking murderous intent and the power of laws. To everyone's surprise, not only were their cultivations the same, even the Tao of laws they had comprehended was the same. The underworld ghost rule. Because of that, after activating their powers of laws, their auras immediately increased explosively. This was the reason why the Underworld Ghost Palace was able to boost their strength. Qin Yu performed a hand seal as his figure emitted a brilliant glow. An ancient seal over 10 zhang wide appeared and encapsulated him and the dragon spirit. A deafening explosion took place as the imperishable Stone Emperor seal shuddered vigorously, but managed to resist the attacks. So this is the power of the three emperors. Bailey Xionghuang stared at Qin Yu with flickering eyes. Even though Qin Yu's cultivation was not as strong as the information he had received. However, the power of the three emperors was not as terrifying as the rumors had described. Judging from the current situation, the imperishable Stone Emperor seal would not be able to resist the attacks of the 10,000 Ghost Palace for a long time. It was only a matter of time before Qin Yu fell into a dangerous situation. This caused Bailey Xionghuang to feel slightly excited. If the power of the three emperors was not as exaggerated as the rumors had described, how had Qin Yu managed to slay thousands of martial progenitors in the ancient imperial martial realm? Unless Qin Yu had some kind of secret technique that could significantly improve his cultivation. As such, they were able to confirm Qin Yu's identity. That being said, it did not matter if Qin Yu was the person they were looking for. Bailey Xionghuang had no intention of letting Qin Yu live when he decided to make his move. He would rather kill the wrong person than to let him go. Since Qin Yu had disappeared from the martial emperor's mausoleum filled with forbidding auras, the factions behind the ancient imperial palace would not be able to find him. As such, they would not target the 10,000 Ghost Palace and cause a huge commotion. Die. Qin Yu's eyes flickered coldly. Qin Yu had initially planned to let the 10,000 Ghost Palace go for now. However, since they had delivered themselves to his doorstep, Qin Yu would naturally not be lenient. These dozens of shadow guards were all at the 8th level of the Nirvana realm. They were definitely the top experts of the Myriad Ghost Palace. Once these people were killed, the strength of the Myriad Ghost Palace would definitely plummet. Since the Myriad Ghost Palace suspects you, then they must know about the battle between the allied armies. Knowing that you have such combat strength, he still dared to make a move. I'm afraid he has some powerful trump card. The dragon's soul looked at Bailey Xionghuang with indifferent eyes, cold killing intent filling the air. Today, even if a martial emperor comes, he will still die. Divine light gathered in Qin Yu's right hand as the sky-splitting spear materialized. A killing intent law soared into the sky, stirring up the wind and clouds. Whoosh! Taking a step forward, Qin Yu appeared in front of a shadow guard. The sky-split spear was like a dragon emerging from the sea, and it carried a destructive might as it tore through the ghastly nether ghost laws and swept towards Qin Shi. As for the attacks from the other shadow guards, Qin Yu was able to ignore them with the power of the immortal stone emperor seal and the divine dragon body. Nether ghost! The shadow guard immediately uttered a groan. Although Qin Yu's cultivation was far inferior to his, that spear light contained a sense of danger that made his hair stand on end. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Immediately, 9 shadow guards appeared around him. The auras of the 10 shadow guards merged with one another, summoning a Tenjiang-tall skeleton with a cultivation of the peak nirvana realm. Thump! The spear glow containing the sealing light was blocked by the skeleton. However, as the sound of the explosion echoed, the ghostly runes on the ghost soldier skeleton were sealed. The giant skeleton immediately disintegrated and turned into a pile of white bones. The power of sealing? Bailey Xionghuang and the shadow guards were astounded. Killing a peak martial progenitor skeleton with a single move. The power of the 3 emperors' skills had greatly exceeded their expectations. The initial disdain in their hearts immediately dissipated. Roar! At that instant, a deafening dragon cry could be heard as a chaotic dragon aura spread from behind the dragon's soul. Following this, the heaven-scorching golden flames dragon dashed out from the primary dragon world. A magnificent dragon aura swept the place, shocking the heavens and earth. Dragon tribe? Bailey Xionghuang was stunned seeing the lifelike heaven-scorching golden flames dragon before him. It was his first time seeing a living creature like the dragon tribe. However, it did allow Bailey Xionghuang to confirm Qin Yu's identity. He clearly remembered that the secret techniques that Qin Yu had executed during the battle at the 100 Beast Palace seemed to be related to the dragon tribe. Kill! An ancient mirror appeared in the dragon soul's hand as it landed on the heaven-scorching golden flames dragon's head. Its childish face was filled with a cold, murderous intent. The heaven-scorching golden flames dragon uttered a roar as it executed its natal skill, the heaven-scorching golden flames dragon. At that instant, the area within 1,000 li was turned into a world of flames. The heaven-scorching golden flames dragon's power had already been enhanced. With the enhancement of the godly origin mirror, everything in its path was set ablaze. Even the peak martial progenitor realm secret guards had to use their full strength to resist it. A godly weapon? Bailey Xionghuang's eyes glistened when he saw the godly origin mirror in the dragon soul's hand. Normally, only martial monarchs would possess a godly weapon. Even he, who was from the heaven-suppressing ghost monarch's lineage, did not have one. The dragon soul was only a martial progenitor, yet he was able to command the dragon tribe and had a godly weapon. Who exactly was he? Rumble. Under the attacks of Qin Yu, the dragon soul, and the heaven-scorching golden flames dragon, the secret guards were immediately suppressed. Some of them even suffered casualties. Qin Yu's sealing divine light and the dragon soul's space-time ability, if one were to be hit by them, then there would be no chance of survival. 10,000 Ghosts Portrait, Evil Spirits of Purgatory. As the secret guards of the 10,000 Ghosts Palace found themselves in a disadvantageous situation, a ghastly aura filled the place. It was Bailey Xionghuang executing his strongest move, the 10,000 Ghosts drawing. However, The ghastly aura of the 10,000 ghosts drawing had merged into 100 zhang tall demon from hell. It had reached the peak martial progenitor realm. It was obvious that Bailey Xionghuang had purposely improved the power of the 10,000 ghosts, drawing after Lin Chongqing, had shattered it with brute force. Heaven-battling azure dragon. A cold smile appeared on Qin Yu's face. Since they had fallen out with each other, there was no need for him to conceal his strength any further. His flesh and bones were clearly covered in blue dragon runes, which spread to his limbs and bones. Since Qin Yu had ranked up to the martial progenitor realm, the azure dragon battling the heavens, devouring the heavens dragon seal, and other mystical abilities were no longer as eye-catching as they were in the past. That being said, even though the dragon aura had been withdrawn, its power was more refined and shocking. Qin Yu's cultivation of the third-layer martial progenitor realm had reached the peak martial progenitor realm in the blink of an eye. Bang! The space was shattered into pieces as the spear was thrust forward. The 10,000 zhang tall demon from hell was instantly destroyed, which turned into a destructive ghost order that swept the place. "It's you indeed." Bailey Xionghuang's expression became hideous seeing this, as if he had turned into a demon. "It must have been tough for you to come all the way here to die." Qin Yu's figure shuddered as he summoned over 10 clones of godly glows. This time, with the help of the heaven-battling azure dragon, the strength of the clones of godly glows had reached the peak martial progenitor realm. The people of the 10,000 Ghosts Palace immediately fell into a dangerous situation. Chapter 291. God's Slaying Sword. Bailey Xionghuang's expression changed drastically as an ancient sword appeared in his hand. A vast and unparalleled sword power shot up into the sky as if it could shatter the heavens and the earth. Formed by the power of the great path of heaven and earth. The dragon soul's eyes flashed as it recognized the sword. The ancient sword was not a physical object. It was formed by the great path of heaven and earth that a martial emperor had comprehended. To an ordinary martial ancestor, the ancient sword was much more terrifying than a real divine weapon. "So this is your trump card. I thought that a martial emperor would come." Qin Yu smiled disdainfully. If a real martial emperor had come, Qin Yu would have been afraid. However, it was a spiritual weapon formed by the power of the great path of heaven of the martial emperor. Qin Yu, on the other hand, did not care about them at all. Swoosh! Swoosh! With a thought, Qin Yu sent all the divine light clones to attack the secret guards. The divine light clones pierced through the sky like shooting stars. It was quite dazzling. However, the might emitted by those divine light incarnations caused the hearts of all the people from the 10,000 Ghost Hall to tremble. A sense of death appeared in their hearts. Slash! Bailey Xionghuang's power of law surged and burned like flames. He shouted ferociously and slashed out with the ancient sword in his hand. A circle of dazzling sword light flashed in the void. The sword light seemed to have a spirit as all the divine light clones were slashed at the waist. The sea of fire was also slashed open. The power of the great path of heaven and earth of the martial emperor was undoubtedly powerful. The laws of heaven and earth were as fragile as glass in front of the great path of heaven and earth. How is this possible? However, in the next moment, Bailey Xionghuang cried out in shock. The divine light clones that had been slashed at the waist recovered in the blink of an eye. They did not seem to have suffered any damage, which naturally shocked Bailey Xionghuang. After all, what he was using now was the true power of the great path. But now, he could not deal with the divine light clones? Could it be that this was all an illusion? Go to hell! Bailey Xionghuang was in a frenzy as he continued to slash with his sword. However, the result was the same. No matter how many times the divine light clones were slashed, they would recover immediately. Whoosh! The void shook slightly, and a figure appeared beside Bailey Xionghuang like a ghost. It was Qin Yu's real body. Qi. Bailey Xionghuang's reaction was not slow either. He slashed out with his ancient sword, and the sword light tore through the void, wanting to kill Qin Yu. Qin Yu's divine spear pierced out, and at the spear light, a ferocious dragon head opened its mouth and swallowed the sword light. It was the heaven-devouring dragon seal. At the same time, Qin Yu pointed his finger at Bailey Xionghuang. Divine sealing light appeared and sealed him away. The soul-devouring curse was unleashed right after, intending to devour Bailey Xionghuang's soul. Rumble! However, at this moment the ancient sword suddenly trembled. After the power of the Great Path went berserk, it suddenly exploded. The sword intent that could destroy the world swept out for thousands of miles. When the sword intent of destruction dissipated, Qin Yu, the dragon soul, and the heaven-incinerating golden flame dragon, who were protected by the indestructible stone emperor seal and an ancient spell formation, were revealed. Although they had blocked the explosion of the Great Path's power, they had still suffered some setbacks, and their auras were somewhat chaotic. However, the myriad Ghost Palace's secret guards were not so lucky. Under the sweep of the Great Path of heaven and earth, their bodies were directly crushed and their souls scattered. Qin Yu felt that it was a pity that the indestructible ancient emperor seal dissipated. He originally wanted to take the opportunity to find out more about the martial emperors that the myriad Ghost Palace sent this time. It seemed that the other party was prepared. Once Bailey Xionghuang showed signs of having his soul searched, the ancient sword would directly explode. With a thought, Qin Yu turned the ancient spell formation in the void back into a flag, and returned to the spirit array disc. This ancient spell formation was set up by Qin Yu before the start of the battle. Its purpose was to prevent any martial emperors from making a move. Before entering this mausoleum, Qin Yu was a little concerned about the person who used a secret technique to spy on him in the dark. After stopping for a while, Qin Yu and the dragon's soul left this area and headed in the direction where the emperor's might was stronger. When the ancient sword exploded, in the myriad Ghost Palace that was several martial realms away from the Xunyue martial world, a figure sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed suddenly opened his eyes. It was Bailey Xionghuang's seventh martial uncle. The spiritual sword exploded? Bailey Xionghuang, you found that kid? The white-haired old man's eyes flashed. This time, he knew of Bailey Xionghuang's plan to lead the secret guards to the Xunyue martial world. Now, the spiritual sword that was condensed from his Great Path sword energy exploded. It must be that Bailey Xionghuang had confirmed Qin Yu's identity. Otherwise, Bailey Xionghuang would definitely not have unsealed the power of the spiritual sword. Thinking of this, the white-haired old man immediately got up and left the palace. At this time, in the Xunyue martial world's illusory boundary, the two figures were covered in a layer of faint moonlight. They easily passed through all the restrictions and barriers and arrived at an ancient palace. In the entire illusory boundary, only this ancient palace was real. Those two people were the masters of the four major forces of the Xunyue martial world, the beautiful woman in blue palace dress and the burly man in battle armor. The two broke the boundary and entered the core area of the palace. In the deepest part of the palace there was an ancient altar. On the altar, a huge picture of a bright moon was engraved. Without hesitation, they each took out more than 10 jade bottles and opened all of them. Crystal clear blood of various colors flowed out and poured on the altar. Each of the blood had a strange fragrance that assailed their nostrils. Obviously, they were not ordinary. Chi. Immediately, all the spiritual inscriptions on the ancient altar lit up. All the blood flowed along the spiritual inscriptions and gathered at the bright moon. The bright moon picture immediately bloomed with dazzling moonlight. Spirits summoning. When the beautiful woman in palace dress and the burly man saw this, they both chanted a mysterious incantation. The bright moon that emitted dazzling moonlight seemed to be attracted by a mysterious force. It floated up from the ancient altar and floated in the air. In the next moment, a figure vaguely appeared in the bright moon, exuding an imposing aura. Success. When the beautiful woman in palace dress and the burly man saw the figure in the bright moon, their eyes were filled with respect and greed. That figure was the Emperor's soul of the Shin'yue Spirit Emperor, who had passed away 300 years ago. As it absorbed all the blood, the Emperor's soul seemed to have awakened from a deep sleep. Two moon-white eyes pierced through the void. Immediately after, the Emperor's soul stepped out of the bright moon and stood in the void. The beautiful woman in palace dress and the burly man immediately restrained their auras. They were like statues and did not dare to move at all. This Emperor's soul had lost its memories from when it was alive, and it was awakened by the blood sacrifice technique. Once it smelled the aura of a living person, it would immediately go berserk, devour flesh and blood, and refine the living soul. Fortunately, they were well prepared when they came. They had the power of the Shin'yue Spirit Emperor from when he was alive, so they could hide it. Sure enough, after the Emperor's soul circled around the beautiful woman in palace dress and the burly man, it turned into a ray of moonlight and rushed into the distant void. The beautiful woman in palace dress and the burly man immediately followed behind it. Not long after, the Emperor's soul encountered over 10 martial progenitors who had entered the illusionary formation. Upon seeing the martial progenitors, the moon-white eyes of the Emperor's soul immediately turned red with a hint of bloodlust. Chapter 292. Rumble. Moonlight burst out from the monarch spirit's body and covered the martial progenitors in the sky. An earth-shattering battle took place. However, the battle soon came to an end. The flesh and souls of the peak martial progenitors were devoured, turning them into dried corpses. After devouring the flesh, blood and souls of the martial progenitors, the blurry figure of the monarch spirit became more solid. The aura on his body had also clearly increased by several notches. Even the scarlet, bloodthirsty light in his eyes had become much denser because of this. The monarch spirit did not stop there, but continued to fly through the illusory formation. Under the control of the woman and the bulky man, the martial progenitors who entered the illusory formation encountered the monarch spirit one after another. Those who encountered the monarch spirit died on the spot. A bloody massacre took place in the illusory formation. Inside the mystic moon imperial tomb, Qin Yu and the dragon soul, who were flying toward the direction of the monarch aura, they had now appeared in a foggy area. An ancient palace appeared in the foggy area, emitting an ancient and mysterious aura. The aura of the monarch pill. After Qin Yu had circled around the gray foggy region for over half a circle, he executed the art of fleeing heaven and brought the dragon soul through the forbidding auras and into the ancient palace. It can easily pass through the forbidding auras? What kind of secret technique is that? After Qin Yu and the dragon's soul entered the ancient palace, two figures quietly emerged from the ground. They were the man with a gloomy gaze and a skinny face from the 4 great factions of the mystic moon martial realm, and the young man with an ancient fan in his hand. This is troublesome. He will surely discover the monarch's spiritual pill. The skinny man's gloomy gaze was filled with a clear murderous intent. Isn't that great? We won't be able to break the forbidding aura of the palace for the time being. Let him retrieve the monarch pill for us. The young man with an ancient fan wore a cold grin. The monarch's spiritual pill was crucial to their plan. No matter how powerful Qin Yu's background was, they could not let him take the monarch's spiritual pill away. Inside the ancient palace, Qin Yu broke through the forbidding auras and entered the inner hall. An ancient bronze medicinal cauldron floated in the inner hall. Inside the medicinal cauldron, there was a strong pill fragrance that made people feel relaxed and happy. It was the fluctuation of an emperor pill. Medicine King's Divine Cauldron. There were 4 ancient words on the cauldron, emitting a vast and majestic aura. This was definitely something that had existed for a very long time. A top-tier divine artifact. The dragon's soul sized up the bronze cauldron. It was quite rare for a cauldron to be able to reach the level of a top divine artifact. Battle Dragon 8 trigrams, seal. Qin Yu's hands moved continuously, striking out a series of profound ancient seals, sealing the Medicine King's divine cauldron. This Medicine King divine cauldron was far inferior to the good fortune immortal furnace that Qin Yu used in his previous life. But for the current Qin Yu, it was more than enough. Although Qin Yu's cultivation was steady, he never used spiritual pills to increase his cultivation. However, there were other types of spiritual pills. For example, for healing injuries, recovering true qi, and other healing assistance pills, Qin Yu still had to refine them. These spiritual pills were essential in a battle. Now, with this Medicine King's divine cauldron, it would be of great help to Qin Yu in his alchemy. Opening the Medicine King's divine cauldron, a dazzling moonlight shone out. A moonlight white spiritual pill the size of a longan, surrounded by moon patterns, floated up and down in the divine cauldron. Emperor Spirit Pill. Qin Yu's eyes flashed with a brilliant light. This was an Emperor Pill. The so-called Emperor Pill was a spiritual pill that was useful for martial emperors and emperors. With Qin Yu's current cultivation, he still couldn't refine an Emperor Pill. The Monarch Spiritual Pill was made from 3,749 precious spiritual ingredients and the power of the moon. If Qin Yu guessed correctly, this Emperor Spirit Pill should have been used by the Divine Moon Spirit Emperor in the past to help stabilize his Emperor soul when breaking through to the Emperor realm. The reason why it was left behind should be because the Divine Moon Spirit Emperor passed away before he could break through to the Emperor realm. Of course, it was impossible for Qin Yu to guess the specifics. However, this Emperor Spirit Pill was just right for his eldest senior brother. With the help of the Emperor's soul and this Emperor Spirit Pill, his eldest senior brother's soul source. Not to say that it could completely recover, but at least it could stabilize the situation. Someone is setting up an array outside. At this time, the dragon soul's expression changed slightly as he said aloud. Looking at the fluctuations, it should be the person who set up the illusion barrier when we entered. After carefully sensing, Qin Yu put away the Medicine King's divine cauldron and left the ancient palace. Boom! When Qin Yu came out through the layers of barriers, a murderous intent like a giant beast, with monstrous killing intent, blasted towards Qin Yu. Even the sky trembled at this moment, as if it could suppress everything. Qin Yu directly entered the state of the Azure Dragon battle the heavens and stabbed out with his spear. The heaven-punishing killing array burst out with the spear, sweeping up the monstrous killing intent and directly crushing it into dust. He actually reached the 9 Nirvana revolutions in an instant. Is this the legendary divine ability of the 3 emperors? The thin and gloomy man who set up the formation and the youth with the ancient fan were both shocked. Even though they had heard countless rumors about Qin Yu during this period of time, when they saw it with their own eyes, they still found it hard to believe. If such a secret technique were to be spread, who knew how many people would be shocked? 9 Nether Purgatory. Heaven-swallowing dragon seal. Heavenly stellar divine light. Qin Yu did not waste any time and used his divine abilities and secret techniques one after another. The array set up by the thin man and the youth with the ancient fan could not stop Qin Yu at all and was blasted apart. This guy. Use a forbidden technique. Although the thin man and the youth with the ancient fan were also 9 Nirvana revolutions' martial ancestors, the thin man and the youth with the ancient fan were completely suppressed. In front of Qin Yu, they were completely suppressed and did not have the strength to fight back. Seeing that the situation was getting more and more dangerous, they had no choice but to use the forbidden technique left by the mystic moon spirit emperor. 9 moons illuminate the sky. Majestic and vast moonlight emerged from the 2 of them. 9 silver moons appeared in the sky. They were connected from head to tail and trapped Qin Yu in a circle. In the 9 moons there were countless scenes that were constantly evolving. Any scene could evoke the desire in one's heart and make one indulge in it. This kind of little trick is useless against me. Qin Yu's eyes were like lightning and he was not affected at all. He directly broke out of the moon and stabbed with the divine spear. The sealing divine light burst out, and the thin man and the youth, who were about to take the opportunity to escape, were immediately sealed by the divine light. Then their souls were devoured by the soul-devouring curse. Soon, Qin Yu learned about the plan of the four major forces in the mystic moon martial world. As early as 200 years ago, the four major forces had discovered the mystic moon imperial tomb. It was also because of the treasures in the mystic moon imperial tomb that they grew rapidly. Thus, they divided the mystic moon martial world, and each of them did not interfere with the other's development. After their forces grew stronger, the ambitions of the four major forces also began to expand towards the martial emperor realm. However, because of their limited aptitude, they had been unable to touch the martial emperor realm. Therefore, they set their sights on the emperor spirit of the mystic moon spirit emperor. Chapter 293. Of course, after hundreds of years, even the emperor spirit of the mystic moon spirit emperor had lost a lot of its vitality. In order to restore the emperor spirit to its peak state, the four forces let the mystic moon spirit emperor's imperial mausoleum appear to attract the forces of the seven great martial realms. Then, they used an evil technique to awaken the emperor spirit and let it devour the flesh and soul of the martial ancestors to recover. After the emperor spirit devoured all the martial ancestors that entered the illusory boundary, they gave it the emperor spirit pill. After that, the four of them refined the emperor spirit and broke through to the martial emperor realm. The original plan had been quite successful. The appearance of the imperial mausoleum had successfully attracted tens of thousands of martial ancestors. But unfortunately, their illusory boundary was broken by Qin Yu, allowing many top forces to enter the real imperial mausoleum. Even worse, the emperor spirit pill that they had not been able to get was discovered by Qin Yu. That was why they wanted to attack Qin Yu. In the end, not only did they lose the emperor spirit pill, but they also lost their lives. Should we stop them? The dragon's soul asked after looking through the memories of the two people. The mystic moon spirit emperor's cultivation had probably reached the half-step martial emperor realm. Otherwise, he would not have refined the emperor spirit pill. But using the blood sacrifice spirit summoning technique to awaken the emperor spirit of a half-step martial emperor realm and let it devour flesh and soul. This was not a joke. If something went wrong, the emperor spirit might become sentient. At that time, it would be troublesome to deal with it. Let's go to the forbidden area of the imperial mausoleum first. Qin Yu shook his head slightly and headed towards the forbidden area of the imperial mausoleum. According to the plan of the four forces of the mystic moon martial realm, in the forbidden area of the imperial mausoleum, there was the body and blood of the mystic moon spirit emperor. Therefore, even if the emperor spirit was sentient, it would definitely go to the forbidden area of the imperial mausoleum. As for the other two people of the four forces, they were hoping to break through to the martial emperor realm with the help of the forbidden area of the imperial mausoleum. 14 hours later, Qin Yu flew to the forbidden area of the imperial mausoleum. The forbidden area of the imperial mausoleum was surrounded by hazy moonlight. Under the moonlight, a huge stone tomb, floating. The stone tomb was 1,000 miles wide, and it was surrounded by moon-white ancient runes. It was like a giant beast from the ancient times. Qin Yu flew out, passing through layers of barriers, and entered the ancient tomb. The treasures inside the ancient tomb had long been more or less plundered by the four major forces. Only in the depths of the ancient tomb, where the people of the four factions could not enter, were the emperor's bodies and emperor's blood not taken away. What a rich spiritual energy! No, this is innate spiritual energy. There's an innate spiritual vein inside? Looking at the depths of the ancient tomb and the white spiritual energy that filled the air, the dragon soul's eyes flashed with a dazzling light. Of all the things in the world, anything that had the word Xiantian in it was rare. The amount of natural energy contained in a palm-sized ball of natural energy was equal to that of 1,000 feet wide energy vein. Now, the innate spiritual qi inside was so dense that it was in the form of mist. It was likely that there were innate spiritual veins inside. Qin Yu also smiled. Such pure Xiantian spiritual qi would be of great benefit to his cultivation. With a single step, Qin Yu passed through the restrictive spell and entered the innate spiritual energy. Innate spiritual pond. Qin Yu and the dragon's soul went deep into the spiritual mist. Although there were no innate spiritual veins inside. But in the center of the spiritual mist, there was a spiritual pond that was only about 50 feet wide. The rolling natural spiritual energy inside was like spring water. He could even vaguely hear the gurgling sound of water. It was no wonder that the people of the four major forces of the Xunyue martial world wanted to come here to break through to the martial emperor realm. Qin Yu waved his sleeve, and the natural spiritual energy in the air was absorbed into his body. The situation of this area was revealed to him. There was no emperor's coffin in this area. The emperor's body of the divine moon spirit emperor was also simply placed there. But unexpectedly, the body of the Xunyue spirit emperor was a ferocious beast. The ferocious beast's skeleton was more than 400 feet long and 160 feet tall. It was like a huge mountain of bones. Perhaps it was because it had been nourished by the natural spiritual energy all year round. The ferocious beast's skeleton was quite glossy and was still ferocious. Azure demonic phoenix. Qin Yu recognized the ferocious beast's body. The azure demonic phoenix was a ferocious beast with a thin phoenix bloodline in its body. It was said that after continuous evolution, there was some hope that it could become a true phoenix bloodline. There was a drop of crystal-clear blood floating in the skeleton of the azure demonic phoenix. There was a faint azure flame burning in the blood, and a noble aura was emitted. At this moment, the dragon soul's expression changed slightly, and the chaotic dragon chi appeared. The golden flame sky-incinerating dragon appeared from the origin dragon world. Its magma-like eyes were burning with desire as it stared at the drop of blood of the azure demonic phoenix. "Can you give this drop of demonic blood to me?" The golden flame sky-incinerating dragon tilted its head and begged Qin Yu. "Is it useful to you?" Qin Yu asked. "Yes." The golden flame sky-incinerating dragon nodded heavily. "Then I'll give it to you." Qin Yu did not refuse. After all, the stronger the golden flame sky-incinerating dragon was, the more beneficial it would be to him. Besides, if Qin Yu wanted to establish the eternal dragon nation, all the dragons that he subdued in the future would have to be as strong as him. Otherwise, eternal dragon would be nothing more than a useless decoration. The golden flame sky-incinerating dragon was very excited. It immediately took out the azure demonic phoenix's blood and swallowed it. Then, it returned to the origin dragon world and began to refine it. "What do you plan to do with this skeleton? Give it to the skeleton ghost king?" the dragon's soul asked as it looked at the skeleton of the azure demonic phoenix. In terms of combat strength, the skeleton of the azure demonic phoenix was definitely stronger than the body of the barbarian god emperor. But in terms of potential, the barbarian god emperor's body, which could absorb the power of blood to break through continuously, was far superior to the skeleton of the azure demonic phoenix. "No, I plan to refine it into a monarch weapon." Qin Yu shook his head slightly. Although the All Heavens War Emperor transformation could evolve into various divine weapons, it was just a secret technique. However, this was, after all, only a secret technique. The divine weapon it created could not be compared to a real divine weapon. Qin Yu's cultivation was not high now, so the divine weapon evolved from the secret technique could still be used. But when his cultivation reached the martial emperor realm, or even the emperor realm, the power of the Heavens War Emperor transformation would be far inferior to a real divine weapon and emperor weapon. Emperor weapon? Integrate it into the 9 nether dragon spear? The dragon's soul was slightly stunned. It understood the meaning of Qin Yu's words. Isn't this a little too big? After all, the 9 nether dragon spear was only a saint weapon now. It could not even be considered a divine weapon, let alone a supreme emperor weapon. Let's take it slow. Qin Yu obviously knew that it was impossible to refine an emperor weapon in one step. But the skeleton of the azure demonic phoenix could help the 9 nether dragon spear build a good foundation. After all, this was the skeleton of a half-step emperor beast. In fact, the foundation of the 9 nether dragon spear was not bad. It was condensed from the dragon's spine of the 9 nether hell dragon. Unfortunately, the 9 nether hell dragon was seriously corroded by the corpse ghost chi, causing its skeleton to be damaged. Otherwise, the 9 nether dragon spear would have become a divine weapon long ago. It would not be a mere saint weapon now. With a thought, Qin Yu immediately stored the skeleton of the azure demonic phoenix into the ancient seal of the divine dragon. The golden heaven incinerating fire burned, constantly burning the impurities of the skeleton. Chapter 294. After looking around and seeing that there were no treasures in the core area, Qin Yu went to those forbidden areas. Ancient and mysterious runes appeared on Qin Yu's palm and merged into those ancient forbidden areas and barriers. These forbidden areas were left by the divine moon spirit emperor and were extremely powerful. In order to prevent any accidents during cultivation, Qin Yu was controlling those ancient forbidden areas. 15 minutes later, Qin Yu returned to the Khanate spiritual pool and sat cross-legged. The dragon soul had been cultivating there for a long time. Ancient battle dragon art. Activating his technique, Qin Yu absorbs the Xiantian holy energy like crazy. Very soon, his body is covered by the holy energy. Boom. But not long after, Qin Yu and the dragon soul, who were cultivating, opened their eyes and looked up at the same time. A loud explosion could be heard coming from above the tomb. According to the memories of the leaders of the 2 forces of the divine moon martial world, there was an ancient altar above the spirit emperor's ancient tomb. The illusory barrier was derived from the ancient altar. Originally, the emperor spirit of the divine moon spirit emperor was in the ancient altar. However, when Qin Yu inspected it earlier, he discovered that the emperor's soul had already disappeared. It must have been awakened by the blood sacrifice spirit summoning technique. It seems that the illusory barrier was broken? The dragon's soul sensed carefully. So, they will be here soon. The plan of the 4 forces was to bring the emperor's spirit to the ancient tomb as soon as the illusory barrier was broken. They planned to use the power of the emperor's spirit to break the forbidden area of the core area and refine the emperor's spirit. Qin Yu and the dragon's soul looked at each other and immediately got up and disappeared into the void. This aura, at this time, in a forbidden area of the imperial tomb. The mysterious woman in white was picking an emperor-grade spiritual herb. Her bright eyes flashed as she looked at the entrance of the imperial tomb. The woman in white thought for a while, picked the spiritual herb and disappeared from the forbidden area. In the spirit emperor's ancient tomb, the situation was as Qin Yu had expected. Sure enough, not long after, a valiant and frightening aura rapidly approached him. In the blink of an eye, the tomb was broken open. That person's eyes were scarlet red, and his entire body was surrounded by Emperor's soul. He directly rushed towards the core area. Behind the Emperor's spirit, the beautiful woman in palace attire and the tall and sturdy man, who were surrounded by moon-white light, quickly followed behind. They're not here yet? That's not right. If he didn't obtain the monarch's spirit pill, why would he send us a secret order? The beautiful woman and the burly man immediately realized that something was wrong when they didn't see the thin man and the young man with the ancient fan. Both of them became cautious. Buzz, buzz, buzz. At this moment, The sovereign spirit that had barged into the core area of the restriction was bound by ancient spirit rune chains that appeared out of nowhere. No matter how violently the Emperor's soul struggled, it was unable to break free from the sealing power of the spirit grain chains. Sealing divine light. With a shout, Qin Yu's figure appeared. Then, he repeatedly tapped the air with his hands. Rays of divine light runes continuously entered the sovereign spirit's body, suppressing the berserking sovereign spirit. Ancient imperial palace? Could it be that he, the beautiful woman and the burly man were startled when they saw Qin Yu's sudden appearance? Since Qin Yu had appeared, the thin man and the young man with the ancient fan were nowhere to be seen. If they still had no idea that it was Qin Yu who had sent them the secret order, they would be too stupid. Stop him! When he saw that Emperor's soul being suppressed and sealed by Qin Yu unceasingly, the beautiful woman and the burly man immediately charged toward Qin Yu. With the current situation, no matter what, they could not allow Qin Yu to suppress and seal the Emperor's soul. Otherwise, their plan would be for naught. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. It was as if Qin Yu did not notice the arrival of the beautiful woman and the burly man, as he focused on suppressing the sovereign spirit. The sovereign spirit had devoured the blood, flesh, and souls of a few thousand peak martial progenitors, thus its strength had reached the half-martial monarch realm. Even with Qin Yu's current strength, he had to use his full strength to suppress the sovereign spirit. Whoosh! The reason why Qin Yu did not attack was because of the presence of the dragon soul. The dragon soul dashed forward and spread its arms. Its left hand was burning with the heaven-scorching golden flames, while its right hand was filled with the power of space-time. Rumble! Golden flames swept across the place, turning into a sea of flames. The beautiful woman and the burly man had no choice but to slow down to resist the powerful heaven-scorching golden flames. Violent power of laws clashed in the air, turning half of the ancient tomb into a battlefield of destruction. Roar! The dragon soul's body was covered in pitch-black dragon scales as its aura grew stronger. It charged forward to engage in a melee battle. It relied on its space-time ability to affect the heavens and earth, as well as the terrifying flesh of a peak heaven-grade dragon. Although the dragon soul's cultivation was weaker than the woman and the burly man, its strength was not weak. In fact, it was not at a disadvantage when fighting against two at the same time. Withdraw. In the shocking battle, Qin Yu was not affected at all. He continued to perform hand seals to seal the sovereign spirit. Finally, the sovereign spirit was completely suppressed and sealed into the ancient seal of the mystical dragon. Whoosh! Glancing at the dragon soul that was still fighting fiercely, Qin Yu took out the heaven-shattering spear and joined the battle. With Qin Yu joining the battle, the woman and the burly man were soon unable to hold on any longer and tried to escape. Qin Yu would not give them the chance to do so, and immediately killed them. It seems like I still need to improve my battle skills, the dragon's soul exclaimed as the scales on its body disappeared after seeing the two people killed by Qin Yu. Although the dragon soul's strength was comparable to the Nirvana martial progenitor realm, it was not very experienced in battle. In addition to its offensive skills, it only had the space-time ability, which it had not fully comprehended yet. Therefore, they could not be like Qin Yu, who was able to easily suppress them all by himself. The space-time Tao is publicly acknowledged as one of the strongest Taos. Once you've fully comprehended it, you will not have any advantage in terms of numbers. Qin Yu did not agree with the Dragon Soul's decision to train its other skills. The Dragon Soul could already execute the Golden Flame Heaven-incinerating dragon skill. The more dragons it subdued in the future, the Dragon Soul would have more offensive skills. Therefore, it was better to focus on comprehending the space-time Tao instead of wasting time on other battle skills. The Dragon Soul had only comprehended the space-time force at the very beginning. It could not even see the real power, let alone touch it. That's true. The Dragon Soul nodded after being slightly startled. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Qin Yu controlled the forbidding aura in the tomb and placed it outside the tomb. The two returned to the innate spiritual pool and continued to cultivate the rules of spacetime. The dragon's soul executed its innate skill, causing the power of time to slow down 10 times as it circled around Qin Yu. Qin Yu and the dragon's soul, one had a 40 times god physique, while the other had the flesh of the dragon tribe. As the two of them frantically absorbed the energy, the innate qi in the innate spiritual pool was being absorbed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Time gradually passed. 3 days had passed in the outside world. Qin Yu and the dragon's soul had cultivated for a total of 30 days. The qi in the innate spiritual pool was completely absorbed. Chapter 295. As a result, the dragon soul's cultivation had reached the nirvana first cycle of the martial progenitor realm. Qin Yu's cultivation had improved rapidly too, reaching the 7th layer martial progenitor realm in a row. After all, it was an innate spiritual pond left by a half-martial martial highness, thus the qi it contained was shocking. It's time to go. The dragon's soul withdrew its space-time force as the two rose to their feet and left the ancient tomb. They had benefited greatly from their trip to the mystic moon mausoleum. Not only had they obtained the monarch spirit, their cultivation had improved tremendously too. After leaving the ancient tomb, Qin Yu found Wei Yuanzhou and the others who were trapped in a forbidding aura somewhere in the mausoleum. Seeing that Qin Yu was planning to leave, Wei Yuanzhou and the others did not dare to stay any longer. The danger of the mausoleum was far greater than they had expected. Without Qin Yu's presence, they did not dare to venture any further. Bang! As soon as Qin Yu and the others appeared above the blue ocean, a vast and unparalleled pressure came crashing down without any warning. It was as if a huge mountain was pressing down on him. The Tao of the heavens and earth? Martial monarch realm? At that instant, Qin Yu performed a hand seal with his right hand to execute the immortal Rock Emperor seal. A few defensive formations appeared on the formation disc in his left hand, which transformed into a few dozen barriers protecting his figure. The dragon's soul immediately executed its space-time ability to influence the rift. Rumble! The movements of Qin Yu and the dragon's soul could not be said to be slow. However, the force of the Tao of the heavens and earth was even faster, which struck Qin Yu and the others almost instantly. A loud explosion took place as the immortal Rock Emperor seal trembled vigorously and became unstable. Qin Yu and the dragon's soul were knocked into the bottom of the ocean from the sky. Puff! Wei Yuanzhou and the others were severely injured, causing their auras to weaken as they were knocked flying while vomiting blood. It was the white-haired old man from the 10,000 Ghost Palace. The white-haired old man simply stood there, yet the magnificent monarch aura he was emitting felt like he could dominate the entire heavens and earth. The white-haired old man pointed with his finger. An unparalleled sword light transformed into countless tiny sword lights that pierced through the bodies of Wei Yuanzhou and the others. However, those sword lights did not cause any harm to Wei Yuanzhou and the others. This was a soul-searching technique. The white-haired elder was searching through the memories of the ancient Imperial Hall and the others. Not only the ancient Imperial Hall, but all the forces that came out of the mausoleum had their souls searched by him. He was looking for the person who had made Bailey Xionghuang use the Great Path spiritual sword. However, they didn't find any clues. The white-haired old man raised his eyebrows slightly and looked at Qin Yu, who had crashed into the deep sea. In the memories of Wei Yuanzhou and the others, he did not see Bailey Xionghuang. But at the same time, he didn't see Qin Yu's memories. According to Bailey Xionghuang's plan, the biggest suspect was naturally Qin Yu, who had become the emperor of the ancients. Bang! The surface of the sea exploded as a figure broke out from the sea. He stood in the air and indifferently looked at the white-haired old man. It was Qin Yu, who had been blasted to the bottom of the sea. Qin Yu did not take the opportunity to escape. Although he had comprehended the law of speed, his speed was definitely not comparable to a martial emperor's. Furthermore, this white-haired old man was only a rank 3 martial emperor. With Qin Yu's current strength, he wasn't afraid of him. Whoosh! The white-haired old man took a step forward and rapidly approached Qin Yu. He pointed his finger at him. This time, the sky within 1,000 miles was filled with destructive sword might. This white-haired old man had entered the path of the sword. Thus, the power of the great path of heaven and earth directly transformed into sword might. Indestructible Stone Emperor's Seal. Heaven's War Emperor Transformation. Qin Yu's eyes were cold as he rapidly formed hand seals with his hands. The indestructible Stone Emperor's seal became more and more solid. Even the profound ancient runes on it could be seen clearly. At the same time, intense divine light revolved around Qin Yu's body. Tens of thousands of ancient swords appeared around him. They floated up and down in the sky, forming a sword tomb. One could clearly see that there were countless divine swords and emperors' swords shuttling back and forth in the sword tomb. Every ancient sword, even broken swords, emitted a supreme sword might. They were like invincible swordsmen, invincible in the world. Chi, chi, chi. The destructive sword might that engulfed 10,000 miles of the sky collided with the invincible sword might of the sword tomb. It was as if a demonic beast that had taken human form had encountered a demon emperor that had become a demon emperor since ancient times. Its might was immediately suppressed to the extreme. After the indestructible Stone Emperor's seal trembled, it blocked the sword might. This time, Qin Yu's body didn't even sway in the slightest. This is the eternal sword tomb? The white-haired old man's eyes suddenly narrowed. He stood rooted to the ground in disbelief. The eternal sword tomb was a forbidden area in the divine land of the heaven domain. It was left behind by an invincible sword immortal from ancient times. It was one of the few strongest divine weapons in the heaven domain. All the sword cultivators in the heaven domain regarded the thousand-ghost sword tomb as the holy land of sword Tao. All the sword cultivators wanted to see the eternal sword tomb with their own eyes. They wanted to see the invincible aura left behind by that ancient sword cultivator. In the long history of the heaven domain, almost all the famous sword cultivators in the 9 states had comprehended Tao in the 1,000-ghost sword tomb. As a member of the Ghost Emperor Holy Island, the white-haired old man had naturally been to the eternal sword tomb. It was precisely because of this that he felt so shocked. The eternal sword tomb that Qin Yu created had the same power as the eternal sword tomb in the forbidden area of the divine land of the heaven domain. Is this kid a direct disciple of the heavenly imperial palace? After the white-haired old man recovered from his shock, a strange light flashed in his chilling eyes. The force of the Ghost Emperor Holy Island hadn't spread to the spiritual state. However, he knew a lot about the heavenly imperial palace, which was one of the top forces in the heaven domain. It was rumored that the heavenly imperial palace had a supreme secret technique that could create all the divine weapons in the world. However, not many people had actually seen it. Only the core members of the imperial palace of the heavenly emperor knew about it. And now, Qin Yu actually managed to create the eternal sword mound. Naturally, the white-haired old man guessed that Qin Yu was a direct disciple of the heavenly imperial palace. Is that the new emperor of the ancient imperial palace? He actually managed to block the attack of a martial emperor? No wonder he killed thousands of martial ancestors. He's so fierce. Speaking of which, what's the purpose of that martial emperor? It seems that he searched the souls of all the martial ancestors who came out of the imperial mausoleum. How can we guess the thoughts of a martial emperor? We'd better back off, lest we get caught in the crossfire. In an area thousands of miles away from the sea, countless forces were watching the confrontation between Qin Yu and the white-haired old man in the sea with their own means. Since the news of a martial emperor coming to the sea spread, the forces of the 7 martial realms had gathered there. They didn't dare to get too close, and could only watch from afar. "Brat, did you kill my 10,000 Ghost Palace's men?" After looking at the eternal sword tomb, the white-haired old man's eyes flickered with greed. It didn't matter if Qin Yu was a direct disciple of the heavenly imperial palace or not, since he had encountered him here. There was no reason for him to let go of such a secret technique. Chapter 296. Are you going to let me go if I say no? Qin Yu said calmly. Let me perform a soul search. I'll let you go once I'm sure that you didn't kill the people of the 10,000 Ghost Palace. Despite saying so, the power of the sword Dao emitted from the old white-haired man's body grew stronger. You think you can perform a soul search just because you want to? Who do you think you are? Qin Yu wore a cold grin. He had already seen through the old white-haired man's greed. You're courting death. The old white-haired man's eyes turned cold as the power of the sword Dao in his right hand transformed into an ancient sword. The sword slashed forward with a tremendous might, causing the heavens and earth to resonate with it. A giant pitch-black crack appeared in the sky as the sword glow swept past, emitting a terrifying destructive aura. It was a sign that the sky was unable to endure the sword's might. Azure dragon battling the heavens! Qin Yu was not afraid. Cyan dragon marks covered his entire body and permeated into his flesh and blood. It vaguely transformed into an azure Shinran that merged with Qin Yu's body. Qin Yu's cultivation had reached the limit of the Nirvana realm in the martial progenitor realm. A tremendous aura swept across the place. Following this, the sky-shattering spear transformed. Qin Yu was like a dragon emerging from the ocean. He swung his spear while the eternal sword tomb appeared at the tip of the spear and faced the attack head-on. The power of the old white-haired man's sword Dao filled half of the sky. Qin Yu was unable to use any tricks to attack, thus he decided to face the attack head-on. Rumble! The destructive sword glow and the sharp spear glow collided with one another, resulting in a deafening explosion. Spatial cracks appeared in the void, as if the entire sky was about to collapse. A 10,000 li deep pit appeared above the ocean, with huge waves surging into the sky, turning into a destructive tsunami. Crack! Qin Yu, who had launched a head-on attack with his spear, was attacked by an indescribably vast power. It felt like he was fighting against the entire heavens and earth on his own. However, at the next moment, the Skysplitter's spear and the Eternal Sword Mound, which were condensed from divine light, directly exploded, turning into divine light that filled the sky and dissipated. The indestructible Stone Emperor's seal also dissipated after countless cracks appeared on its surface. Qin Yu's body trembled as he once again descended from the sky. The white-haired old man's attack was indeed extremely astonishing. However, the Eternal Sword Mound, indestructible Stone Emperor seal, and Dragon God Tyrant body were able to cancel out the damage. The injuries that Qin Yu had received were not very serious. However, Qin Yu's complexion was clearly much paler, and his spirit was also clearly weakened. This is... When the white-haired old man saw this, a strange light flashed in his eyes. Qin Yu stabilized his body and swallowed a divine pill. His mental power recovered significantly. Although he had not received much of an injury from the white-haired old man's attack, he had still managed to escape. However, the destruction of the Eternal Sword Mound and the Sky Splitter Spear had caused him to suffer quite a bit of backlash. The Heavens War Emperor transformation used one's spirit, essence, and spirit to evolve thousands of divine weapons in the world. With the foundation and knowledge of the martial emperor realm from his previous life, Qin Yu was able to evolve many divine weapons. The divine weapons that he had evolved also came with various super skills. However, this convenience was also the heaven-punishing battle emperor's only weakness. Once the divine weapons that he had evolved were completely destroyed, the spirit, essence, and spirit of the divine weapons that he had evolved would naturally be destroyed as well. I see. As a martial emperor, the white-haired old man naturally discovered the secret of the heavens war emperor transformation. However, the greed in his eyes did not diminish because of this. Instead, it became more intense. There was no other reason. Qin Yu, who was only a LV7 martial ancestor, had used the secret skill of the three sovereigns to block his previous attack. Although the white-haired old man had not used his full strength in the sword move just now. However, even an ordinary martial emperor would not be able to withstand it. Even if Qin Yu had used the secret skill to raise his cultivation to the limit of the martial ancestor realm, he was still far from a martial emperor realm. However, Qin Yu had managed to block his attack despite his cultivation. This was enough to show how shocking the secret skill of the three sovereigns that Qin Yu had used was. The white-haired old man made his move once again. This time, he held the mystical sword in his hand and closed in on Qin Yu, as he swore he would kill him. As a martial monarch realm expert, how could he fail to defeat a martial progenitor after using the secret skill 5 times? Dragon Soul. However, at that instant, Qin Yu's slightly pale face wore a cold grin. Bang 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 bang. Following this, a few dozen giant glowing formations were fired into the sky from the bottom of the ocean. As the mystical runes spread out, they merged with one another and formed a 900 zhang giant ancient formation. A monstrous and terrifying killing intent permeated the ancient array. The killing intent was so dense that one could touch it directly. If one were to glance down from above, they would discover that the giant ancient formation had transformed into a ferocious dragon hanging between the heavens and earth. Whoosh! With a flicker, the dragon soul that had been missing all this time appeared beside Qin Yu from the ancient formation. The boundless sea was submerged in the boundless land as if doomsday had arrived. Chapter 297. Although Qin Yu was rocked by the destructive shockwave, he did not take half a step back. Borrowing the power of the 9 heavens battle dragon formation, he managed to block the white-haired old man's sword ray. You actually blocked it? Cold killing intent flashed through the white-haired old man's eyes. For the ancient formation to be able to make him feel danger, its power was indeed extraordinary. I would like to see what other tricks you have up your sleeve. Countless profound ghost curses appeared all over the white-haired old man's body. Boundless power of the ghost Tao radiated from those profound ghost curses. The way of the sword and the way of the ghost overlapped with each other, causing the might of the two great Taos to rapidly increase. Whoosh! However, without any warning, a figure appeared like a phantom. A powerful punch landed on the white-haired old man's body. At this moment, heaven and earth trembled and the vast sea roared. The white-haired old man, who was about to unleash his killing move, sensed something. It was as if he had been rammed by an ancient beast, and he was sent flying several hundred meters away. His aura was fluctuating, as if he had received some sort of injury. A skeleton appeared before Qin Yu. It was the Skeleton Ghost King. The current Skeleton Ghost King was incomparably different from when it had just fused with the barbarian God Emperor's body. The several thousand martial ancestors that Qin Yu had killed in the battle of the ancient imperial palace were their vital energies. The Emperor's soul in the Divine Moon Spirit Emperor's tomb had devoured over 10,000 martial ancestors' vital energies. They had all been devoured by the Skeleton Ghost King. The Skeleton Ghost King was originally a rank 1 martial emperor. Now, it had reached the peak of rank 2 martial emperor. It was not much weaker than the white-haired old man's rank 3 martial emperor. Furthermore, the Skeleton Ghost King was a martial emperor puppet. Its defense was comparable to a divine artifact. If they were to truly fight, even if the Skeleton Ghost King was no match for the white-haired old man, it would not be easily defeated. A rank 2 martial emperor's contracted life form? The white-haired old man stabilized his body, unable to conceal the shock on his face. That skeleton puppet had already gained its own intelligence. It could be said to be a true martial emperor. Such an existence was actually willing to become a martial ancestor's contracted life form. How could he not be shocked? Could there be an emperor expert behind Qin Yu? Rank 3 martial emperor. The skeleton ghost king saw through the white-haired old man's cultivation. However, the hollow eyes of the skeleton flickered with an extremely excited light. If he devoured the white-haired old man's qi and blood, his cultivation was most definitely capable of reaching rank 3 martial emperor. His strength would undergo a metamorphosis. There was a huge gap between each rank of the martial emperor realm. The skeleton ghost king admitted that with his current strength, the most he could do was block the white-haired old man. It was simply impossible to kill him. However, with Qin Yu around, the situation was completely different. Qin Yu was someone who truly possessed heaven-defying battle prowess that allowed him to fight enemies above his level. It was not impossible for the two of them to take down the white-haired old man. You hold him back first, then cooperate with me later. The skeleton ghost king and Qin Yu were telepathically connected. Therefore, Qin Yu didn't need to send a message to the skeleton ghost king. Understood. The skeleton ghost king didn't have any objections, and mysterious beast patterns appeared on its bones. The barbarian race's secret technique was used, and a vast emperor's aura swept through the world, shaking the 9 heavens. Qin Yu's gaze was as sharp as a sword, and his aura became more and more terrifying. As the divine light flickered, the eternal sword tomb and sky splitter spear became more and more solid. It was as if an ancient divine weapon had appeared in the world, and its divine aura was invincible. At the same time, a terrifying killing intent was clearly emitted from Qin Yu's body. The aura triggered the 9 heavens battle dragon formation, and the two faintly resonated with each other. The killing intent and might overlapped and increased. In an instant, the killing intent filled the world, and the sun and moon lost their light. The sky darkened. An extremely terrifying destructive fluctuation was constantly brewing. The dragon's soul didn't join the battle, and its figure flashed, returning to the ancient dragon seal and rapidly forming seals with its hands. Immediately, a mysterious space-time energy was emitted, and it filled Qin Yu's body. It caused the surrounding space around Qin Yu to become distorted and turbulent. This power. What secret is he hiding? The white-haired old man's ferocious expression turned solemn. At this moment, the fluctuation emitted by Qin Yu had far surpassed the 3 emperors' divine ability. Furthermore, the dangerous fluctuation was coming from the rank 2 martial emperor skeleton ghost king. He had no choice but to treat it seriously. Unseal. Thinking of this, the spiritual sword in the white-haired old man's hand dissipated, and he formed seals with his hands. Frightening ghostly aura emerged from his forehead, and it covered half of the sky. Within the ghostly aura, a bone sword that looked like it was made of white bones appeared. Waves of bone-chilling ghostly cries came from the bone sword. It was as if there was an extremely terrifying ghost hidden within it. Divine artifact. Just from its aura, one could tell that the bone sword was a true divine artifact. Boom. At this moment, the skeleton ghost king had already attacked. Its fists, covered with ancient beast runes, pierced through the air. Unparalleled emperor's aura swept out, and it was like a meteor shower as it continuously bombarded the bone sword. Ghost King Sword. One sword slaying ghosts and gods. The white-haired old man shouted, and the ghostly aura that covered the sky merged with the ancient sword. Accompanied by a sharp whistle, the white-haired old man slashed the sword in the air. A dazzling sword ray that was hundreds of feet wide filled the sky. It was like a mountain that was suppressing everything in the world. Boom, 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 boom. Wherever the sword ray passed, all the incoming fist rays were destroyed, and they turned into destructive energy that wreaked havoc in the world. The white-haired old man rushed forward and slashed at the skeleton ghost king with his sword. The sword ray exploded, and countless sword rays that resembled starlight drowned the skeleton ghost king. Those sword rays were hard to distinguish between real and fake, and they were like a dream. However, every sword ray contained a destructive killing intent that couldn't be ignored. Ghost eyes of destruction. The skeleton ghost king didn't panic. A ghastly ghost pupil appeared in the hollow eye sockets of the skeleton. The ghostly eye closed, and in the blink of an eye, rays of ghostly light pierced through the sky. All the sword rays were seen through. The skeleton ghost king punched out, and all the sword rays were shattered. Ghost eyes of destruction? A peerless secret technique of the ghost race. The white-haired old man's eyes flashed. The Tao of heaven and earth that he comprehended mainly focused on the Tao of the sword. However, he cultivated the Tao of the ghost race. In other words, he cultivated both the ghost race and the sword. He naturally knew about the ghost eyes of destruction that could break all laws and seal all spirit. However, this was the first time he had seen the real ghost eyes of destruction. After all, the ghost race had already disappeared during the ancient era. The ghost eyes of destruction had also become a legendary item. Whoosh, whoosh. The skeleton ghost king attacked once more, and the ghost eyes of destruction flashed. Rays of evil light appeared and broke through the white-haired old man's ghost Tao sword moves. I can't drag this out any longer. Although he had the upper hand against the skeleton ghost king, the white-haired old man's expression became more and more dark. The skeleton ghost king had the help of the ghost eyes of destruction, so it would be difficult to defeat it in a short amount of time. Qin Yu, who hadn't made a move yet, was emitting a terrifying aura that made him feel uneasy. Chapter 298. Do it? At this moment, the skeleton ghost king received Qin Yu's order. Ha! The skeleton ghost king was already prepared. The beast marks on its body shone, and it let out a sharp, ear-piercing shriek. Soul power that could be seen by the naked eye surged out and covered the surroundings. Soul confusion technique? Not good. The white-haired old man's face changed the moment he heard the shriek. He immediately tried to escape. However, he was still a step too late. The white-haired old man's emperor soul was affected by the shriek and his body became sluggish. The soul confusion technique was the skeleton ghost king's innate ability. It was a soul Tao secret technique. Poochie. Almost at the same time, a beam of divine light pierced through the void at lightning speed. The sound of flesh being pierced through could be heard. The white-haired old man's body was pierced through. His limbs and bones were instantly shattered by a destructive sealing power. It was Qin Yu's forbidden technique, the immortal sacrificial technique. The golden immortal technique that Qin Yu had just executed was not only a combination of his own laws and the dragon race's secret technique. There was also the Nine Heavens battle dragon formation and the Three Emperors secret technique. The destructive power that erupted from it was extremely powerful. Even though the white-haired old man was a rank 3 martial emperor, it was difficult for him to resist it. Damn it! Although his body was pierced through, the white-haired old man's emperor soul still came out of his body. The white-haired old man's emperor soul looked at Qin Yu with resentment and immediately entered the void. Seal! Qin Yu's heart moved. With him as the center, the void within 10,000 miles started to ripple like water. The white-haired old man's emperor soul that had just entered the void rushed out of the void along with the ripples. The dragon soul's space-time ability had completely sealed this area. In the sealed space-time region, there was still sealing divine light spreading out. Qin Yu had already made preparations in the void when he was preparing the immortal sacrificial technique. Since the white-haired old man was already in such a state, there was no way he would let him escape. The skeleton ghost king sealed the white-haired old man's body and crazily devoured his blood, to strengthen his cultivation. He obviously hasn't awakened the bloodline of the three emperors, but he can still inherit the divine abilities of the three emperors. When did such a monstrous genius appear in the bloodline of the godly emperors? When this scene entered into the eyes of the white-clothed woman who had been observing the battle in concealment, she was unable to conceal her astonishment. A rank 3 martial emperor was subdued by a mere martial ancestor. If news of this were to spread, who knew how many people would be shocked? Even the monstrous geniuses of the immortal sacred grounds, supreme Taoism orthodoxies, and ancient divine dynasties in the 9 prefectures of the heaven domain were all shocked. Even a martial progenitor would not be able to kill a martial monarch, right? I am a descendant of the sky-suppressing ghost monarch of the sky domain. If you dare to kill me, I will kill all 9 generations of your family. That white-haired old man was a rank 3 martial emperor. But now only the sovereign spirit had left his body, and the sovereign spirit was still sealed. Facing Qin Yu, he had no power to fight back at all. Therefore, he could only use Ghost Emperor Zhen Tian in an attempt to intimidate Qin Yu. Soul-devouring curse. A cold smile appeared on Qin Yu's face. The name of Ghost Emperor Zhen Tian could intimidate others, but it could not intimidate him. The reason why Qin Yu did not immediately kill him was naturally because he wanted to search his soul and refine it. Who knows what had happened to Ghost Emperor Zhen Tian after thousands of years? Boom! Just as Qin Yu was about to search the white-haired old man's soul and refine it, the spacetime energy that filled the air was suddenly shattered. Qin Yu quickly raised his head and saw a giant palm that was 1,000 feet tall pressing down on him. A mysterious mark was faintly discernible in the giant palm, and it was emitting an ancient and mysterious power. Martial Emperor? Qin Yu's body sank, and the sense of danger in his heart multiplied. Even the white-haired old man's sovereign spirit did not have time to destroy it and immediately retreated. This martial emperor was much stronger than the white-haired old man. He could not take it head-on. Boom! The skeleton ghost king, who was devouring the blood essence, reacted slightly slower and was directly suppressed by the giant palm. Even the destructive power of the ghost eyes of extermination. It was unable to withstand the power emitted by the mysterious mark in the center of the giant palm. Whoosh! Although the descending giant palm had suppressed the skeleton ghost king, the skeleton ghost king was injured. The white-haired old man's sovereign spirit was not injured because of it. After the space trembled slightly, a figure appeared in the sky. It was a middle-aged man wearing a cyan gown. He had a cold expression, and his eyes were faintly emitting cyan light. As Qin Yu expected, this cyan-gowned man was actually a rank 6 martial emperor. He was 3 entire levels stronger than the white-haired old man. That white-haired old man was only a single level stronger than the skeleton ghost king. Furthermore, Qin Yu had used all his abilities and the skeleton ghost king had used its origin ability. Only then did the white-haired old man reveal an opening and kill him with a single strike. From this, one could imagine how powerful this cyan-gowned man was as a rank 6 martial emperor. Boom! An explosion sounded, and the image of an enormous savage beast appeared on the skeleton ghost king's body. The savage beast image was barely able to withstand the giant palm, allowing the skeleton ghost king to break free. That was the barbarian god's origin ability. The skeleton ghost king had comprehended it from the barbarian god emperor's body. This man is too powerful. Even if we join hands, we won't be able to defeat him. The skeleton ghost king flew to Qin Yu's side. It already had the intention to retreat. Qin Yu narrowed his eyes as he sized up the cyan-gowned man. It was as the skeleton ghost king had said. They had to think of a way to escape. Fifth senior brother. The white-haired old man who had just escaped death had a fearful expression on his face. If his 5th senior brother had arrived a bit later, he would have been dead. Then, right now, he was probably truly dead and his soul had been destroyed. What's going on? You can't possibly be unable to defeat a rank 2 martial emperor's contracted puppet, right? Zhou Zhaotian glanced at the skeleton ghost king. As for Qin Yu, a mere martial ancestor, he was completely ignored by Zhou Zhaotian. I was tricked by that little bastard. Although he's only a martial ancestor, his abilities can threaten martial emperors. In my opinion, he's most likely the person Bailey Xionghuang has been searching for, Qin Yu. The white-haired old man's lingering fear was replaced by a vicious expression. His martial emperor's body had been destroyed by Qin Yu and then devoured by the skeleton ghost king. Even if he managed to fuse back into his body, his foundation would be greatly damaged. It would be difficult for him to make any further progress on the path of cultivation. Heaven's suppressing palm. Zhou Zhaotian raised his eyebrows. He didn't waste any time and formed a giant palm once more. This time, the entire world was moving along with the 3,000-meter-long giant palm. It felt as if the void had completely solidified, making it impossible for anyone to escape or hide. The skeleton ghost king's eyes flickered as the image of a desolate beast appeared once more. Emperor's aura surged as it tried to block the Tao of heaven and earth that was coming from all directions. Qin Yu did not resign himself to his fate. A ruthless expression flashed through his eyes. Within the immortal execution diagram, the god execution formation trembled as overflowing killing intent gathered. So what if the skeleton ghost king was a rank 6 martial emperor? If the skeleton ghost king wanted to eat him, he would have to see if his teeth were strong enough. Whoosh! However, right when Qin Yu was about to activate the god execution formation, a figure appeared before Qin Yu and the skeleton ghost king. That person pointed with his finger. Divine light gathered and formed a finger imprint that pierced through the sky. Chapter 299. Crack. The fingerprint was only an inch long. It was as small as an ant in front of the giant palm. However, when the two collided, the giant palm was penetrated by the inch-long fingerprint. The frozen world returned to normal. The pressure on Qin Yu and the skeleton ghost king was greatly reduced. The white-clothed figure was the white-clothed woman who had been watching the battle in the dark. But the most shocking thing was that the divine light fingerprints she had just used, Heaven's War Emperor transformation. Qin Yu narrowed his eyes. The divine light fingerprint that the white-clothed woman had cast was the Heaven's War Emperor transformation. Judging from the power that the white-clothed woman had displayed, the Heaven's War Emperor transformation that she had mastered contained the profound. It seemed to be even more powerful than the Heaven's War Emperor transformation that Qin Yu had mastered. The Heavenly Imperial Palace. This thought immediately appeared in Qin Yu's mind. The cultivation of a martial emperor and the divine ability of the 3 emperors. Other than the Heavenly Imperial Palace, Qin Yu couldn't think of any other possibility. You're from the Heavenly Imperial Palace? Zhou Zhaotian frowned as he looked at the white-clothed woman. He had also guessed her origin. The white-clothed woman's cultivation was even higher than his. She had already reached the peak of rank 6 martial emperor. More importantly, the white-clothed woman didn't seem to have cultivated the art of retaining appearance. In other words, the white-clothed woman had cultivated to rank 6 martial emperor at such a young age. Such talent was truly shocking. Sun Xiu of the Heavenly Imperial Palace. The white-clothed woman was surrounded by a divine light. She had an extraordinary temperament. Just as I thought. Qin Yu's eyes flashed. He had guessed correctly. However, according to the ancient emperor, the Heavenly Imperial Palace had never cared about the ancient Imperial Palace. Why would a martial emperor from the Heavenly Imperial Palace appear at such a critical moment? Sun Xiu? She's one of the 4 great saints of the spiritual state. Sun Xiu of the Heavenly Imperial Palace? Zhou Zhaotian and the white-haired old man's expressions changed slightly. They seemed to have heard of Sun Xiu's name. Does the heavenly imperial palace want to become the Ghost Emperor Holy Island's enemy? Zhou Zhaotian reacted. His gaze was sharp and his aura rose steadily. Ghost Great Emperor Holy Island is famous in the Tian region, and Ghost Great Emperor Jin Tian is an ancient great emperor. Why would Imperial Palace Emperor Tian want to become enemies with Holy Island? In the face of Zhou Zhaotian's rising momentum, Sun Xiu appeared to be indifferent and did not care at all. If that's the case, why did you stop me? Zhou Zhaotian said coldly. Even though Celestial Imperial Palace isn't as good as Ghost Emperor Holy Island, we can't ignore the dangers of our people, said Celestial Imperial Palace. Sun Xiu said indifferently. That brat killed a member of my Saint Island. Are you saying that you're going to shield him? Zhou Zhaotian's sharp eyes flashed with a cold light and killing intent. It's fine if you want to understand it that way. Sun Xiu naturally knew that it was impossible to make Zhou Zhaotian give up with just a few words. However, Zhou Xiu didn't care about offending Zhou Zhaotian. Although they were both rank 6 martial emperors, their statuses in their respective powers were completely different. Even if Zhou Zhaotian had some status on the Ghost Emperor Sacred Island, they wouldn't be important figures. However, she was the most outstanding genius of the Heavenly Imperial Palace and one of the 4 great saints of the spiritual state. Even the saints and princes of those ancient sacred grounds and ancient divine dynasties couldn't be compared to her. Therefore, even if the Ghost Emperor Sacred Island was stronger than the Heavenly Imperial Palace, however, they would definitely not start a war with the Heavenly Imperial Palace for the two of them. Humph! I'd like to see if the famous great saints of the spiritual state live up to their reputation. Zhou Zhaotian moved his right hand and a 3-meter-long battle saber appeared in his hand. On the battle saber, ghostly runes spread out and connected with ghostly curses, exuding an invincible aura. Slash! A ghostly figure appeared behind Zhou Zhaotian. Then, he held the battle saber tightly with both hands and slashed in the air. A pitch-black saber light like a waterfall appeared. Although the saber light didn't emit any shocking power, the void was torn apart like a piece of cloth. Destroy! Sun Xiu stood indifferently in the void. As the divine light condensed, it turned into a dazzling golden pair of scissors. Ancient divine weapon, Golden Dragon Scissors. Qin Yu recognized the origin of the golden pair of scissors that Sun Xiu had transformed into. It was a famous divine weapon in the ancient times. As expected, the golden pair of scissors slashed through the void. Then, it turned into 2 lifelike golden dragons that bared their fangs and brandished their claws to bite the pitch-black saber light. With a crisp cracking sound, the pitch-black saber light was directly shattered. However, the 2 golden dragons didn't stop attacking. They intertwined with each other and pounced toward Zhou Zhaotian with monstrous power. Zhou Zhaotian slashed with his battle saber repeatedly. The great Tao of heaven and earth went berserk, wanting to shatter the 2 golden dragons. Boom! 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 An earth-shattering battle reappeared. The entire Xunyue martial world shook at this moment. This battle was more than 10 times more terrifying than the battle between Qin Yu and the white-haired old man. The vast sea had completely disappeared, and the deep sea had turned into a swamp. The land within a radius of more than 100,000 miles had become a ruined battlefield, and countless lives had been lost. Just the aftermath of a battle between high-level martial emperors was so terrifying. The 2 sides exchanged hundreds of moves. Zhou Zhaotian went all out, and every move he made was earth-shattering. Sun Xiu, on the other hand, had been fighting calmly and even seemed to be at ease. She easily neutralized all the attacks. Even Qin Yu, who was close at hand, wasn't affected at all. Qin Yu, who was watching the battle, shook his head inwardly. Sun Xiu wasn't serious at all. Otherwise, Zhou Zhaotian would have been defeated long ago. Although the 2 sides had the same cultivation, the difference in their true combat strength was too great. Let's end it here. After neutralizing the attacks, a divine seal condensed in each of Sun Shiyu's eyes. Immediately, the aura on Sun Shiyu's body changed. If it was said that before, it was calm and peaceful. But now, it was like a raging sea, as if it could destroy everything. Boom! Zhou Zhaotian's pupils constricted. He had no time to react. He was hit by the two divine seals, and was directly sent flying hundreds of miles away. He vomited blood and was seriously injured. Oh no! When Sun Xiu raised her right hand and formed a seal with her 5 fingers, Zhou Zhaotian's hair stood on end. The hair on Zhou Zhaotian's body stood on end. Without thinking, he immediately flew away. The aura that Sun Xiu emitted made him feel a deadly sense of danger. Sure enough, she was ranked as one of the 4 great saints in the spiritual state. Sun Xiu had the power to fight enemies of a higher level. She was a genius that couldn't be treated with common sense. Sun Xiu put down her right hand and withdrew the divine light on her body. She didn't chase after him. After all, Zhou Zhaotian was from the Ghost Emperor Holy Island. If she really killed him, she was afraid that they would really hate her. Do you have a grudge against the Ghost Emperor Holy Island? Sun Xiu turned around and looked at the skeleton Ghost King for a while. Then, she looked at Qin Yu. No grudge. Qin Yu's disguise couldn't be removed yet. Then why did they send 2 martial emperors to find you? Sun Xiu asked calmly. Maybe, I killed the people of the 1,000 Ghost Palace in the Imperial Mausoleum. Qin Yu said. It's just a small branch force. The Ghost Emperor Holy Island wouldn't send 2 martial emperors. Sun Xiu raised her eyebrows. Obviously, she didn't believe Qin Yu's words. There must be a reason why the Ghost Emperor Holy Island is looking for you. Although I've driven them away, I'm afraid you can't stay in the ancient Imperial Palace anymore. But Sun Xiu didn't ask further. She looked at Qin Yu and said, You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.